not only is the fighter class just a complete berserker archetype that can self-sustain, do enough CC, and has a lot of gap closers, but just does a ton of damage built into the kit. I think fighter is definitely the most OP class in its current form until these other classes get the proper buffs to mobility or self-sustain of some sort. This is the only way to do it.
Hello everyone and welcome to our Glorious Ashes of Creation March development update. We hope that you've been having a wonderful month. We have been so busy. We have a very, very long live stream for you. So
oh my gosh.
Buckle in, grab your snacks.
But yeah, get some popcorn, make sure to get some refreshments. Margaret and I are actually talking about whether or not we should include a mandatory intermission in the showcase today.
Damn.
Like a little 5-minute get up potty break thing.
Our video editor and community folks and social folks were like, maybe we should have a little intermission in between, but we'll give it to you all because I know that you don't want any pauses. But we will also, we have a lot planned. So hopefully you are prepared. Like I'm saying, if you want to go get some snacks now, I highly recommend it. But as you can see below, today's plan is we have a few reminders. We have our fighter archetype preview, which I know a lot of people have been really excited about. It is I think one of the longest archetype previews we've had. I think someone posted a snapshot of all the links of all of them. They just keep getting longer and longer.
Nice.
Well, I mean, as you know, this is a byproduct of active development, right? As things get more fleshed out, there's more stuff to talk about and to show. You guys, as you've been watching, are going to see, back from the early fighter, basic melee to the ranged weapon to the cleric to the, ranger and tank. Like each of these are more and more fleshed, and now you're getting an idea of what Alpha 2, is going to consist of from an archetype perspective. This fighter archetype preview is very detailed, and we even get into more of the work that Brian's been doing and the combat team's been doing on weapon progression skills as well, and those are pretty detailed now. So
okay,
and we mostly show
40 minutes of archetype preview. No worries.
I just blurred their ears off.
Yeah, you did.
Fix myself a little bit. I'm trying to adjust my audio to match yours, and I might have just pushed it a little too loud.
Whoops.
But yeah, we are only showing like the great sword in the weapon skill trees, but right. I think that it will still be exciting for y'all to see and check out. And then after that, we do want to just do a quick studio update, and then we have some art updates as well for y'all, and we'll do a little Q&A. We'll probably try to get through that pretty quick because it's going to be a long one today.
All right, let's go.
But let's get right into the reminder stuff. The first thing we have here today is, of course, our YouTube spotlight. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on all of the places. If you subscribe to us over on our YouTube channel and leave a comment on our dev update version of the live stream, your spotlight could be, or your comment could be spotlighted. Ooh, that was a mouthful. So this one is from Rives Genesis, who wants to know, we know that the normal death penalty incurs a myriad of penalties for the player, but we don't know the numbers behind the penalty. For instance, what percentage of materials do players drop? What percentage of glint is dropped? How severe is the skill and stat dampening? And what is the average time it will take a player to work off XP debt from one death?
So we don't know any of this information yet, but I think that's fine because it's not balanced. And if it's not balanced, then we don't know exactly what they want. And I don't think even the devs know exactly what they want, and it will be done in testing. But it would be kind of cool to know what Intrepid's initial thoughts are.
That was a lot of questions.
Like what is their goal?
They were cramming it.
Okay, so just to recap real quick there, we're talking about percentage lost, time to recoup that percentage, the material percentage sunk versus lootable, and then what was the last one?
How long it'll
glint
take
drop.
to.
And then
Glint drop, got
your stat dampening.
Yeah.
Stat and skill
Stat
dampening.
dampening. Got it. Okay, so first I want to say that the most
Every question has one.
important, the most important part of this question is you're asking about values, right? You're asking about percentile values. You're asking about time that it takes to recoup the percentage and whatnot. Any time that we're at a stage we're in now, and that in Alpha 2, we're going to be testing this, those values are the most subject to change. So to be clear, like, we're going to do best estimate, best guess kind of balance pass for Alpha 2 with the full expectation and understanding that the purpose of Alpha 2 is to really dial in those guesses and take into consideration player interaction with those numbers and what feels best. So just off the bat, like, those values are not what we should be focusing on at this stage. But to give you an idea kind of where we are. First of all, like, when we're talking about dropping items that are in your material inventory, whether that
I see Jamie in the comment section saying it's not deflecting, it requires testing, which is like what I said. Exactly what I said and what Steven said. They don't have a specific ideal. They want what's best for the game and what's best for player interaction, and they can't know that until we put players testing it.
be glint or that be other material
I agree
types,
with Jamie.
you know, we're talking roughly between anywhere from 20 to 30% of a stack is going to be lootable on a per death basis. Now, that is a value that can change based off of the types of bags that you are using to carry those materials. In addition, there's other progression that can allow you, and some stats, I believe, that can allow you to mitigate that value also. When we are talking about the percentage that's lost, or excuse me, not lost, the percentage of your level that is accrued as experience debt from death, generally you can expect that that's going to live around 3 to 4% of the level in accrued experience debt per death. However, additionally, there is a way to mitigate that percentage debt, and that is through the resurrection ability that's provided to clerics. So clerics have the ability to resurrect their allies, and that resurrection will return a percentage that would have been accrued as experience debt, and that return percentage is predicated on the investment into the res ability, as well as the stat that is the stat of the cleric that is tied to the resurrection effect as well. So
that's fucking amazing. Not only do reses matter, but it makes sense lore-wise. If you're thinking about lore, there is a certain amount of essence, because essence is the soul of Ashes of Creation. There's a certain amount of essence that is released into the atmosphere, the air, whatever, whenever somebody dies. So whenever they do the resurrection spell, they retain that essence, which mitigates some of the XP debt loss, which is actually really cool lore-wise and game mechanic-wise.
those can return percentages, so you can mitigate that to a degree. How long will it take you to recover that, and what stat dampening kind of occurs? You know, anywhere within a level, if you acquire 100% experience debt for that level, you know, you max out the experience debt, essentially, you don't ever buy that down. You're probably looking around a 20% stat efficacy dampener, right? So on average, if you're
Ooh, that's a good. Okay, so if you reach 100% corruption or XP debt, then you start getting the XP dampen or the stat dampening.
you're at 100%,
That's a good thing to note.
Debt for a level, and you got to work all that off before you can start progressing in the level again, you're at around 20% overall stat dampening. Time it takes you to regain that debt, is predicated on the level you're at, right? And how you XP. So that's a highly variable value. Yeah, I think those hopefully answer all your questions.
Yeah, and I know that that one's one that people have heard a little bit before, or at least elements of it. I think glint is a new element of that that wasn't there before when we've answered it. But you know, not everybody's. Some people are newer to our community, so that will be handy for them. And of course, if you want your comment spotlighted on YouTube, head on over to our YouTube channel to get yours spotlighted. We pull them at random, so
And just to be clear, I just want to comment.
Mhm.
You made a great point there, Margaret. Is
Yeah.
that some people may not be very familiar with these systems. To be clear, the philosophy in Ashes of Creation is that we are a bit more difficult of a game experience. That is what we're trying to accomplish. We've all played a lot of MMOs where you're either always a winner or it's very easy to fall and get up again. And that's okay. Like those games need a place to exist, and a lot of people enjoy playing them. I historically, as a dungeon master in my tabletop campaigns, can be a bit ruthless. And I think that it's interesting if the difficulty level you're faced with in this open world with many other players forces you to think critically about strategy or about cooperation and teamwork, right? And that the challenges you face are not easily surpassed or bypassed. And so in that regard, a system like, experience debt doesn't necessarily de-level you. You don't want to de-level a player, but we do want to make the fear of loss palpable. We do want to make the failure real. And that can be an encouragement to perform better, because when you do succeed, it will feel that much better.
The only thing that I have criticism on this XP debt thing is once you're max level, you can grind out XP fighting things out in the wild and stuff like that. But once you start accruing corruption and XP debt at max level, there's no repercussion other than being red per se. Like your reputation is bad. But XP debt and all that doesn't really matter at max level, and maybe that's the design choice because you want to be doing a lot of PvP max level. You want to be changing the world through like node systems and wars and stuff like that. But there's nothing changing from like a level 50 getting corrupted and just getting right up to the point of like skill dampening before working that off and griefing somebody. So that's the only thing that I see that's wrong with this system is like when you hit max level, XP debt and corruption seem to not really matter. And I think it'll be an interesting thing for them to tackle. A interesting objective for them to tackle.
Yeah. So, keeping those things in mind. And of course, we have continued to gather your guys' feedback as we move forward and things. And just wanted to make one more note on the questions. For the Q&A segment on the forums, we do try to only pull newer questions. And we do try to give people the answers. If you've asked a repeated question that we've answered before, we try to give you where you can find those answers or even answer them for you in the forums. So just keeping that in mind. But the Q&A one for the spotlight.
Yeah, Vacnar will always help out
special,
with that.
Outlier. We do have dev discussions, though. We're constantly trying to get your guys' feedback on various different things, whether that's through our gameplay loops or our future gameplay loops that we want to showcase. But this one that we put out is regarding time dedication. And we asked you, how much time do you think someone should invest in order to become an expert at an MMORPG? What are the differences between an expert player versus a casual player? Time commitment, skill, game knowledge, etc. And we gave you some other prompts as well. So definitely, if you have some thoughts on this, you want to give us your feedback, your suggestions, make sure you hop into that thread and pop that over because Roshan and Vecna are going to be compiling the data on that soon and sending that over to your development team. So please head on over there. And our next one that we're going to be going over is going to be about item drops. And I know
12 hours a day. Okay, I'm seeing in the chat. I'm seeing in the chat 10,000 hours, 1,000 hours, no less, 5,000 hours.
Oh, y'all,
3 to 5 hours a day
y'all better
minimum
have
is
some thoughts on that,
reasonable.
because I know
12
you do.
hours a day.
That is one of the biggest things, is progression with items. So definitely,
My palms are sweaty,
stay
knees
tuned
weak,
for that.
arms are heavy.
Without
The
further ado,
XP
we'll
dead
get
on my
straight
character
into the
already.
Fighter
Mom
Archetype
spaghetti.
review. But with that, I'm going to let Steven do his preface before the preface. But I do want to preface that it is very long. So buckle in, make sure you have your snacks, take your potty break right now. But go ahead,
Yes.
Steven.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to also say that we did experience success last month in our preview, where we launched the YouTube video at the same time on the stream. We'll be doing that again today, so that those of you who wish to watch the video in 4K or 2K, I'm not sure which one we uploaded it in, have the opportunity to do so on our YouTube channel. So that's going to be going live momentarily with us. However, remember, please stick around on stream. Make sure you give us your commentary and feedback here. It is a bit of a ritual for me to go back and watch the live stream again and kind of read through the commentary, as I don't get to see it well during the live stream because I'm actually chatting with you guys. But yes, so to preface this, obviously, the same is true. This is a work in progress. We are working towards Alpha 2, particularly UI. Balance, big time balance. When you guys go into watching these abilities, please understand that these are very finger in the wind approaches to some of the numbers and values within these abilities. That's going to get tinkered with just before we get into Alpha 2. There's going to be a final kind of balance phase before the Alpha 2 begins, and then we'll be iterating on that, obviously, as Alpha 2 is continuing. In addition, performance, right? We are still working on performance. There are still some lighting changes that need to be done. And the other thing that I want to talk a little bit about is, like, when you're thinking about feedback, talk about the things you both enjoyed and the things you would like to see done differently, right? In particular, we're talking about mobility of the class. We're talking about utility of the class. We're talking about its role in combat, right? What you expect to see out of the class fantasy that is a fighter. You're going to see the abilities. I think there's 17 or 18 abilities probably here with this fighter. We're gonna go through those in the first, like, 45 minutes or so, or each ability one by one. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about their expansion trees as well. And then we're also going to talk about the greatsword and weapon progression. So hour and 45-ish minutes, or what is it? Hour and 45
38 minutes.
Hour and 38 minutes. This is
and we'll
a big
have
one.
the 4K video going up live, and it will be in premiere mode as well. So I think that.
All right, so they're going to be doing all this for an hour and 38 minutes, and we'll get back to it around here. A little bit before this, probably. Yeah. So here's the thing with what Steven just said. A lot of the feedback that we can give is balance related and how we want the class to shape up eventually. But there's not much we can really do as far as viewers to not talk about balance. So I understand where he's coming from. I guess my one thing about concepts and stuff like that I think would be interesting to look into is if each archetype, I want to think about, when he's talked about mobility, I wanted to look at each archetype's base movement speed and if they alter. And I think an interesting thing that I don't see in any like any MMO ever is having everyone have the same base movement speed, but like have a sprint speed that is determinate based on archetype. So maybe the fighter class is fast, but not faster than a ranger or rogue. Maybe a tank is their sprint speed is slow, but everybody's base movement speed is the same. So you're not hurting people for moving on their base move speed, but you're giving people that use endurance and stamina properly windows of spacing that they can utilize or abuse to outplay certain things. And I know that probably sounds too broken, but I think it's better than having like just a tank class be completely slow and never being able to catch up to a rogue. And I think it's kind of the same thing with everybody having the same movement speed, and you're playing like a mage, and this tank just barrels you down with his CC, and there's no way for you to escape. So unless you're like using your abilities or of some sort or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe class abilities with all the slows and stuff, like rangers have the weighted arrows or whatever. So maybe that doesn't really come into effect, and maybe that's something that, you know, we aren't really going to watch or see happen, but I think it'd be interesting to like think about as an idea. Anyways, holy shit, that's loud. Sounds good, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to
round 25.
Another day.
Yeah, that sounds all right.
We have an exciting update for you today. We are going to be showing off one of the most beloved archetypes in fantasy MMORPGs, the fighter archetype. And there has been a lot of work that's been done in progressing this. Obviously, the last time we showed anything remotely fighter related, it was, I think, almost 2 years ago when we did our first basic weapon, melee weapon revamp from Alpha 1. And there were a couple of abilities, obviously, that we showed off, but nothing like the showcase we have stored for you today. You are going to get
a sick sword and armor
understanding of how this archetype has been redesigned.
And it's of the Renkai.
And the progression that's going to be available as part of Alpha 2. And we have joining us to talk through that today.
His jaw isn't quite as Giga Chat as I thought it would be.
Glorious senior designers on the combat team.
And the nose is all scrunched up.
Brian, how are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Looks pretty sick though.
Back on stream.
I love the cloth sash.
Happy to have you both. I know you guys have put in a lot of work and I think really representing pretty well what a lot of people who played fighters and other MMOs love about the class. I'm excited to chat with you about the direction you guys have taken. And obviously, helping to make that a reality, feature team owner on the combat side, as well as one of our senior engineers, Keenan. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
And now that you mention it, I think that original fighter stream was actually my first stream.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was. I think you're right. Yeah, there was a lot of work that went into kind of obviously changing the direction of melee and combat in general at that time. And now we are seeing some of the fruitful persistence in that direction. So one other thing I want to let you guys know is obviously we are here back again in the Riverlands, and we are actually in front of Oakenbane Keep, which is an area you guys saw.
That was the place that was all smoky and stuff.
And right when we ended that live stream, a story arc began in this area called An Ancient Violence. And we're going to be going in there and taking a look around. But first, I think what we
God,
should
the
do
sound is
something
amazing,
that we have
actually.
successfully done in the past with these showcases is kind of show off each individual ability first, talk about what they do, and give you guys a sense of the archetype and the abilities available to us before we get into combat with some freaky Goblin Town stuff. So, do I have a volunteer today that could help tank some blows, potentially?
Yeah, I'll help him.
Nice. Awesome.
The
All right.
cleric?
Very cool. So, which should we start with first? What do you guys think?
I think that's the cleric symbol. Dread.
Start with Blitz.
Blitz? All right, let's see. Blitz.
Blitz.
Is the
Yeah,
first one
let's
on the bar.
go.
Charge. It's a
All right, let's
charge.
do it. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Why don't we first start with momentum? That sounds like a good idea because
Sure.
momentum is obviously going to be referenced in Blitz. I was just looking at that, and as well as a number of other abilities. And momentum is essentially a class energy system. Is that right, Chad?
That is correct.
Okay.
Talk to me about momentum.
Yeah, I'll go into a little more detail about that. So one thing that we feel adds a lot to just class identity in general is something that is beyond just an ability. In this case, it's a class or in this case, an archetype resource called Combat Momentum. So in your top left of the screen here, you'll see that you've got your
Kinda like Rage.
standard health bar and your mana bar, and then a third empty bar that you'll see kind of build up in combat as we play, that you build up through all the different actions that you're doing through the kit. And you can use this resource to get passive power to your character based on which form you are in, which we'll get into it in a little bit here. And you can also spend it for certain unique, especially powerful bonuses.
So, and guys, just to remind everyone, obviously, everything you're going to see here is still a work in progress. We are working towards Alpha 2, especially as it relates to the UI, as it relates to VFX, and designs will change, balances will change.
I was gonna say the
Keep that in mind. What we're
skill
looking
tree
for
looks
is
really
kind of
convoluted
direction,
right now.
Right? Direction on this archetype. What do you think looks cool?
But it looks like you
What
start
other-
bottom and
what
you go
other
up.
Fighter influences, if you had in other MMOs that you think could be incorporated as well. That's all part of the discussion. Okay, so momentum is that class energy ability, and as you guys have seen, obviously other classes Trad is talking about has some similar kind of class energy mechanics. Momentum is definitely, it looks like it is as it sounds, right? I mean, this is something that just passively is generating increased stat bonuses, and those stat bonuses we'll get to in a little while how they can be applied based on some individual buffs. So now that we know what momentum is, and it's good to generate that, let us talk a little bit about Blitz. What is Blitz as an ability?
Yeah, Blitz is your gap closer, your bread and butter gap closer. You pick a target and you charge to the target. There's also a spec option that interacts with the resource if you choose it, that generates some combat momentum, so it lets you kind of open the encounter with a little bit of resource to start.
Okay, so I'm gonna charge the target directly, and I'm gonna deal damage on arrival, which is physical based, and this spec option says that it generates 20 additional combat momentum. Now, presumably combat momentum does not overflow after it hits the maximum 100 points. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I see under it there is an additional spec option that says killing an enemy with lethal blow will reset the cooldown of Blitz. So the more
That's
I
pretty
kill,
sick.
essentially, if I use lethal blow, I can just keep that momentum up, generating additional combat momentum, so I can use a little bit after, you know, potentially landing on the target, and replenish that quickly after with executing lethal blow on the target as a kill, and then raging Blitz into the next.
Yeah, it turns you into more of a aggressive mobile character if you go with that. Like, you're killing enemies and then you need to pick a new target. He might be far away. You charge to him, kill him, rinse and repeat.
Cool. All right, let's take a look at this. Ooh, nice.
And he blocked.
Okay, that was cool. And presumably this also scales verticality as well.
Nice.
Let's test it.
And guys, for the purposes, obviously, of this demonstration, I've set my cooldowns to 0 so that I can more repeatedly use...
Of course, of course. What the fuck did he just do? He just went flying.
Kill those little mushrooms, huh? I don't want to spoil the
I'll
skills.
nuke them for you.
Oh, wait. Little goblins.
Kind of stormy day with this ancient violence in the background. Oh, and by the way, we are playing for the first time in I believe, in-game, the Renkai orcs. Got my trusty mohawk going on.
Those ears are
Probably
sick.
the most appropriate race class combination.
I thought so.
All right, so I'm gonna try to jump. I'm gonna try to scale this thing on you. Let's see here.
It's a pretty long distance.
Oh man, now
That's sick though.
That is cool. That was awesome. Let me do that again.
I do like the fact that there is verticality in it.
Yeah,
I don't know
this is
why I
kind of
paused.
an
Sorry
answer
about that.
You get to like that archer on the ledge that's just free shooting on you, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna get up there with you.
Oh, my bad there. Let me try this one more time.
Oh, he jumped
very nice.
and then did it.
Okay, so by default, so now, let me try this. Oh, did you just die?
I think that was a bad nuke.
My bad.
From someone.
My bad.
No, that was for sure my bad.
That feels really good, by the way. That feels clean.
So he has to
Oh,
jump in order to
Somebody
hit
also
the
died over
blitz.
here?
Just a little mushroom kid.
Oh, a little mushroom. Okay. Okay, Blitz feels really good. Well done with that. I like that. It's super smooth and fluid, it feels. You know, there's not really any movement interruption either on contact or at the initiation, which is obviously one of the most, you know, ideal feeling points of any mobility skill, right, is that fluidity throughout. Okay, let's talk about the next one. So we have Brutal Cleave.
Yep, this is probably your most bread and butter AoE attack. You can, it does a medium amount of damage. It's not one of your more spectacular AoEs, but it's your primary AoE resource generator, so you're going to be using this a lot to build your momentum. And you also weave this a lot between your weapon combos because your weapon attack finishers will reset seconds off of this cooldown. So if you're like going back and forth between cleaves and
auto cleave, auto cleave.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so this does.
Also, the more targets you hit, so that's why it's really good in AoE situations, is you get more momentum based on how many targets you're hitting.
Okay.
Got it. So after jumping in with Blitz, especially if there's multiple targets, going with a Brutal Cleave is just going to really ramp that momentum. And then it looks like also that this ability, it says shares a cooldown with Overpower. And it says also the weapon combo finisher will reduce its cooldown by 8 seconds.
God damn.
Yep.
What's the original cooldown?
So you'll be resetting Overpowers more frequently, because if we want to just jump over to that one, that's the single target counterpart to this attack. It's just a single target hit, but it is a shorter cooldown, so you can reset them more frequently, and it's also generating your resource. So it kind of, you're choosing which one to use based on what your enemies are.
Very cool. That looks great, by the way. Scott and Siva have done an
I'm curious
job.
if Overpower and Cleave look too similar.
I'm really happy with how the effects turned out. Like making physical look.
They
this
look
cool.
almost the same.
You know, it was a feat.
Oh, my bad.
My bad.
Okay. All right. Very cool. I like that. That's Brutal
They look
awesome.
really, really similar.
Let's talk about Maim. Here, let's go over here a little bit.
So it's pretty hard to distinguish between which ability to
Talk
use.
to me a little bit about Maim.
So this is a more powerful AoE attack in the kit. Do you have a spec right now for the
Yeah, let me take a look
range?
here. And by the way, Brutal Cleave, I apologize. There's no additional functionality, it looks like, on Brutal Cleave. But we did talk also about...
Overpower's on the right column. It's an auto-granted ability, so it's not going to be in this tree.
Oh,
like if you,
got it.
there you go.
Okay, so it doesn't
so
have any spec options either.
That's right.
But Maim does. And should I turn Maim off? Let me turn the spec option off first, because this actually extends the distance of the projectile by essentially launching that piercing projectile. Is that right?
Yeah, let's take a point out of that first, and then we'll just kind of look at the base effect.
Okay.
So this is just a cone in front of you. You're hitting in a cone in front of you. It's pretty heavy hitter. You're not resetting the cooldown of this, so you need to be more aware of when you're using this.
Ooh, there was a bleed effect
it
on
also
that.
has the added effect of it will do more damage against recently tripped enemies. So that's where you really want to save this, is if you've tripped someone, or if someone else has tripped an enemy, you capitalize on it by basically smashing down on them with this.
So that'll work really well with the cleric.
Good. Love it. That is awesome. Okay, so let's spec into the projectile.
Okay.
Now this is going to give you obviously a lot more range.
Oh, that kind of looks like the Berserker ability in
This
Lost
adds
Ark.
a piercing projectile on top of the
That's
attack, so
kinda
you're still getting
sick.
that frontal AoE hitbox that's staying the same, but you're
Oh,
adding
that's
a projectile
dope.
on top of it. And the cool thing here too is the projectile gets the bonus of the damage bonus from the trip, so you could actually combo into a target that you see trip from range with this as well. One reason this is a spec option is some fighters will want to be using this in a way that you don't want to pull a mob in the distance, so it's just kind of an added layer of skill if you're using this in a really cluttered environment. But it's kind of a trade-off.
That
Okay.
feels really good.
That's
is
a
awesome.
sick ability. I like that.
Some mana.
Yeah, I'm also curious about that. He's using mana as a fighter, and is also using momentum. So you have two resource bars that you have to watch out for that you normally don't have to as a fighter. But I mean, maybe that adds a little bit of balance, because in a lot of games, for League of Legends as an example, like non-resource champions, Yasuo, Yone, Riven, all these sorts of non-resource champions, Kennen, Zed, whoever, they can be pretty annoying because they have a lot of sustain for just using, like, I guess Zed uses, or Zed and like Kennen use like energy, but it's non-mana champions versus like non-resource champions. They can add a little bit of difficulty towards balancing. It can lean them into the favor of being overpowered, which makes the balancing team forced to make their abilities weaker because they have less to worry about. And I think having mana as a fighter is a little weird, but maybe it's just a balance thing. Maybe they need to work on how to use momentum versus mana. Maybe you can use mana when you have 0 momentum. Maybe that's a thing. Yeah, it's interesting.
There we go. Okay, cool. I love Maim. That is an awesome ability. Let's talk about Battlecry.
Or is momentum specifically just to do more damage? Like if you have momentum, maybe you're doing damage, but your abilities cost mana. That would make more sense. That would make a lot of sense, actually. So you're just doing, once you've built up all your momentum, you were just straight up doing damage. So you're like scaling your damage over time, but it still takes you time, or it still takes time to build that up. So you're not like one-shotting squishies, unless like you've already attacked like a frontline person until you've built up enough momentum to where you blitz onto a squishy and you damage dump them and dump all your momentum using these abilities. I'd be interested into learning like how that works.
This is definitely one of my personal favorites. It doesn't do damage, but it's got some really cool effects going on with it. So
staggered. Oh,
do
you
you
hit
want me
him
to
from
start
behind.
talking about, or do you
Yeah,
want
sure.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. So I love this as an
Ooh.
AoE opener. What it does,
That
it
looks
does a few
badass.
things. One, it riles your allies, specifically your party members. It will also apply a status effect called Shaken to your enemies.
Oh.
And then it will generate a certain amount of combat momentum per ally that you riled.
Okay.
And then just to elaborate, because people are like, what is shaken? What is riled? Well, shaken right now is a debuff on enemies that whenever they take damage, they have a small chance to become tripped. So there's some good combos with this where like you go into like a multi-hit AoE and you can capitalize on that, and then by triggering
I was
trip
gonna
status,
sneeze, my bad.
that flows into Maim really well. So that's one of the combos I like to do, is shout into like a whirlwind, which you'll see in a bit, into Maim to do extra damage against targets that have procced that effect.
That's huge.
Yeah, these are feeling great. Wow, I do like the Battlecry. That is like probably the most standard feeling, like, expected action on behalf of the fighter, some type of Battlecry effect, and this one captures it well.
That sound is
love that. That's
crazy.
cool. Okay, we saw Whirlwind back a while ago, and talk to me about what's changed about Whirlwind.
So Whirlwind is actually pretty close to what it's always been. It's an AoE channeled attack that ramps up in speed the longer you hold it.
Spin to win.
There's also a spec option on the right if you want to pick that gives a final upward swing at the end that has some additional bonuses to it.
Okay. So let's do it without the spec first.
Spin to win. Yep. Typical. All right.
So it exits out after essentially the spinning there. Let's see.
Yep.
Oh, I'm out of mana. There we go. Let's try it again.
Yeah, you're also
Okay.
able to move during it, as you're seeing here.
I like that. I like
pretty
that.
nice to be able to just kind of like use this while you're moving through a pack of mobs.
Got it. So let me spec now into the option that I could invest additional points into this particular skill if I wanted to give myself a finishing blow, essentially.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you get a big hit at the end. Also, you can stop this at any time. So you're seeing him do the full channel, but if it's like, oh, I want to, cancel out of it early, for like, let's say one thing I'll do from time to time is if I shaken enemies, and then this ability is kind of good at tripping enemies because it's hitting really rapidly. You might see a trip and you can cancel out of it into a Maim early if you want to show off that combo.
Into a Maim. Yep, let's do it.
Boom.
Oh, nice.
That's
cool.
sick.
That feels good. Let's see.
Dude, Fighter
That's
looks so
cool. That's
badass.
awesome.
I'm not gonna lie.
All right, cool. Whirlwind feels good too. All right, Cataclysm is another one that we saw
We've
a while
had.
ago.
Yeah, that
What's
was an
changed
alpha
with
one.
Cataclysm?
Yeah, a lot has changed with this one. It used to be like this big like hammer that would appear over your head, and then it hit like an AoE kind of far away from you.
Yep.
Overall, it ended up feeling a little awkward to use. We wanted to turn this more into like your big frontal AoE damage. So this is like the other end of the spectrum, like stronger than Maim. It's just a big ultimate like AoE attack essentially. It's pretty straightforward.
All right, no additional spec options here. And by the way, for those of you out here, that are wondering about kind of how augments, even though we haven't seen a lot of augment work being done, a lot of this tech is foundational in applying these types of spec options, which augments essentially are as well, but they can more radically change fundamentally what the ability is.
Okay.
So that Whirlwind, adding an additional component to the ability, which is that climactic Whirlwind essentially, could be considered functionally as an augment, an additional effect applied to the ability.
Okay.
Okay. Let
So
us
mechanically we know
showcase
what
that new
An
Cataclysm.
augment would look like. Holy
Oh, that
shit.
feels much better.
The channel time is huge.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
You
This
can
is also
interrupt
another
it.
way to apply shaken to enemies as well. It and Battlecry are kind of on separate longer cooldowns, so you might find yourself sort of going back and forth between these interchangeably.
And
Just
you
to
can
keep that status
change
effect.
the direction here mid wind up.
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Nice. I like that. Obviously, the granularity in that.
Yeah, it gives you a little more agency. Like you're not just locked in place because it is a full rooted ability.
It also
You cannot
allows
move
people
during
to
this,
counterplay during
but
this.
being able to turn like gives you a little bit more, you know, control over what happens as things might change mid cast.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I totally agree. I love that.
I like that.
Freedom feeling there. And that's obviously
It
something
actually
that, you know,
roots him
is
in
a
place,
philosophy
but he's still
and
able to
standard that's
change.
taken across a lot of the classes as it comes to, like, you know, rooted ability use.
I'm sure this is a classic
freedom of
WoW
agency
ability.
movement is core to kind of the melee experience and
5
general
wound stacks
skill
per
usage.
second that they are
All right, next up we have Rupture.
moving.
Yep, so this is an interesting one. It's a single target attack, and it puts a temporary debuff on your target where if they are moving, while that effect is on them, they will build up wounded stacks.
Oh my god.
We can talk about we can talk about the status effect in a moment here, but
Can we
at the
talk
end
about
of
the
it,
fact that he should have like literally 0 blood pressure remaining after rupturing that much blood? Oh
Sure,
my god.
we can build in that mechanic.
Oh my god, that's
but
crazy.
Also, you'll notice at the end of it, he takes a big hit of damage, and the idea is that that damage will scale with how much wound they have on them. So this will have kind of some inter-synergy going on with
19,
itself, but also
113.
there will be other sources of wound that you could kind of synergize this with this for further for that big delayed hit at the end.
Wow. Okay, so the wounds are essentially these stacking debuffs that get applied.
Oh, that's crazy. So if you rupture them, literally your best or if you get ruptured, your best option is to stand still, otherwise you take a shit ton of damage. Oh, that's so crazy. Oh my gosh. That's kind of crazy. Cuz like, oh, I guess you have to make the decision after you get ruptured whether you're going to take more damage standing still or more damage running away.
And that's going to, you said, decrease their healing received.
Correct.
And also increases damage taken from all sources?
From physical sources.
From physical sources, got it. Very cool.
Yep. And the more you build that up, because this is actually a stacking thing, it's not just like a single status effect. So the more you're wounding the target, the more and more
53 there.
debuffed their healing, incoming healing becomes. So it's one of those things where if a fighter is like on your target that you're trying to keep alive, you want to peel a fighter off that target, because the longer they get that uptime, the harder it's going to become to heal them up.
That's cool.
Wild.
Okay, love Rupture. Also love an insane amount of blood that's happening. Overpower. Talk to me about Overpower. What do we got here?
We talked about this one. This was the the resource generator.
That's right. And that one doesn't have any additional spec options. The Rupture also looks like, did that one have spec options?
Doesn't look like yeah, it
does
just
not, but if you go
has the ability.
So you will see kind of to the right of Rupture, there are some things that it unlocks. Like it's
with Maim.
Below it, Maim actually. If you go to Maim and then to the right, there are some things over here that you get to unlock as well, which kind of synergize with Rupture. For example, Brutality allows you to start applying wound stacks through your weapon combos. So if you really want to lean into that utility,
yeah.
Like I'm a heal debuffing spec fighter, right? Like that's my thing that I do. You could go into this, and now your weapon attacks, in addition to generating momentum, are also applying wounds to the target.
Love it.
And then this one adds more wound.
Wait. So each wound stack reduces healing received. Oh, it's literally grievous wounds. And target damage mitigation by 0.15% up to a maximum of 100 stacks. And I believe this is going to be like, if you have 10 fighters applying this wound, it can still only go up to a maximum of 100 stacks, regardless.
Specialization if you go down.
which
Oh,
is
wow, okay, so this gives
15%
Overpower and Brutal Cleave. Ooh,
damage
application.
mitigation.
Yeah, it's basically what it's kind of doing is it's tying your
Well, hold on, I want to go
moves
back.
to the way that you're normally
I want to
building
go back.
momentum. If you want to kind of your
Hello?
wound.
So you have 100 sec, so it's 5% healing reduction and 15% damage mitigation reduction
Specialization if you go down.
at max stacks.
Oh wow! Okay.
I think
so this gives
healing-
Overpower and Brutal Cleave. Ooh,
I think that's
application.
actually relatively weak
Yeah, it's
for
basically
healing,
what it's kind of doing is it's
but
tying
strong
your
for damage
wounds
mitigation.
to the way that you're normally building momentum. If you want to kind of dual spec into both.
That's cool.
Actually,
Wow.
it could be pretty weak.
Strong. Okay.
I think it might be
let's talk
underpowered.
about this apparent crippling blow.
Depending on how armor penetration
Yeah,
works.
sure. So crippling blow. This one's pretty simple. This is a
Dazed.
standard single target snare. So a pretty common.
I don't know if
combo
that's
you
a
use
snare.
is,
It seems like a
blitz
daze.
into a crippling blow. If
You're just
like,
kind of slow
getting
as
on
fuck.
top of a target that's trying to kite you. Like if you're charging up on a ranger who's like the last thing they want is you in their face, like snaring them.
That's
is
what you
gonna
cleanse as
force
a
them
ranger.
to maybe use a gap opener because they're not able to outrun you.
You do the gap opener into the like the daze.
That's cool.
What was that called?
So crippling blow is pretty strong, actually. especially
Crippling
when it comes
blow.
to PvP.
So you do like a
That-
blitz
that's
into a crippling
pretty
blow into
Significant reduction. In
your overpower auto attack.
It is single target, so you do
Whirlwind,
have to choose wisely who you were snaring.
Maim.
But it's pretty nice.
Into
to be able to
Cataclysm,
just lock
probably?
the target down. Not like hard CC, but
That's a
just,
pretty good rotation.
make it easier to stick on top of them.
I like that.
Cool. All right, crippling blow, and then we have lethal blow.
This is another one of my favorites. This is the execute of the kit.
This is Garanold.
It's single target as well.
300% the lower HP they are.
The harder it's gonna hit. So this is really like you're trying to do as much damage with your other abilities as possible, and then when you get them like within that kill threshold, you're just gonna hit them with this, hope for a crit maybe, and finish them off. Use it. There you go.
Oh,
my God.
that was at 50% HP, by the way.
This does have a couple spec options as well.
That
One you
might
kinda
be
went over. If you kill
OP.
them with that, and you have the spec that resets Blitz, you could immediately Blitz again, even if it was off cooldown when you got the kill. But if you want to open your skill tree here, we can look at the
Yes.
other one.
Let's talk about it. And the crippling blow did not have any spec options, but lethal blow does.
Yeah, so a lot of the time,
Oh, it
I've played
returns
games where,
health and mana.
executes hit really hard, but you waste a lot of the damage, and it's like, oh, I saw a cool big number, but it didn't really do anything. It's kind of wasted. This spec option lets you make use out of that, so it turns any overkill damage into like health and mana return to you.
Oh,
That's awesome. And you know what I love
shit.
about that? It's at least as it relates to PvP, is that you do not have granularity insight to the opponent's hit points. So you're really rolling the dice if you want to maximize efficacy on this consuming lethal blow.
Yeah, that's how I've been using it a lot.
Yes.
Like sometimes I pull it off, other times I don't.
Love it. That's super cool. I like that interaction there. Okay, let's go up here. We got blood fusion.
But it's an overkill thing.
Yeah, so
So,
kinda
like-
that lethal blows.
It's an overkill. So you try to do this as late as possible. You don't try to do it like as soon as the execution is available. Like if it executes at 30% HP, you still want to do it at like 10%, 20% so that you get the overkill mana and health.
Like we were using, this is another way for the fighter to get health and mana back to itself. That's kind of one way that the fighter sustains itself, because it's in the thick of things.
I'm
to
curious.
itself. Another way for the
Blood fusion returns 100% of damage dealt as health and 50% of damage dealt as mana over the next 6 seconds. If activated while below 50% HP, gain 25% increased damage mitigation and healing received over the duration. Oh, that's crazy. That's awesome. I like that.
Fighter to
It's like a drain
health and
tank.
mana back to itself. That's kind of one way that the fighter sustains itself, because it's in the thick of things, right? It's a primary target.
Seems like a passive.
In danger to be doing a lot of what your
because I don't see it on this bar.
This is like one way the fighter can stay in the fight, and if you pop this, it's a big cooldown. But for the next 6 seconds, any damage you do will have a % returned as health and mana to you.
Okay. So somebody nuke me for like 500.
You can go ahead, Shred.
Okay, I don't want to do it all at once.
Multiple 500s, like 3
Boom, boom, boom.
There you
All
go.
right, and then
Blood
I'm
fusion.
going
Oh,
to
it's
deal some
shift
damage
1.
here to see
Okay.
how much I get back.
36 plus 62 plus 36 plus 63.
Yep, so that last hit missed the window, but you got a good chunk from your other attacks.
Pretty good.
The value of this is super variable based on when you use it. So if you pop it in the right moment, you've got a lot of targets around you. You're like popping your AoEs. Like this is going to get a ton more value.
Okay. It's less valuable single target.
That's cool.
Interesting.
I like that. So it's an instant cast that can happen in the middle of any ability activation.
You could blitz
Right.
blood fusion in the middle.
You could like start your Cataclysm and then pop that right before it lands.
Oh, that's true.
That's cool.
That's actually really sick. That's really cool mechanic. I love the instant cast abilities that like skip the global cooldowns.
Oh yeah, I see that. Okay, very nice. And I like the effect.
Yeah.
Effect looks
It's like the
great.
blood is going into him.
It's got more of that blood theme.
Yes.
That's dope.
I also love the audio for it. It's like you're consuming it a bit. All right,
I like how the cape
this is-
drapes like that. It's so sick.
Oh, a bunch of stuff. I think that was on your corpse. I'm sorry, Brian. Didn't do that right in front of you.
My
It's
loot.
disrespectful.
You just yeeted that from him. Yoink.
Okay, cool. Let's skip Exert for now. Let's go to Lunging Assault.
Yeah, so this is like gonna be one of your first spenders of your resource. This spender is more for mobility. It's a smaller spender, but whenever you use this, you will dash forward a short distance and do an attack at the end. And it's pretty freely usable. It doesn't have a very long cooldown. It's just spending your resource. So the more resource you're generating, the more you're able to kind of reposition and dash around the battlefield and get some extra damage out there.
I see. Now, obviously, utilizing the resource with Lunging Assault, because you're dealing instances of damage to enemies that you impact, you have an opportunity, if executed well situationally, that you can you can actually probably have a net gain with this if there's a huge amount of enemies, like a train or something, right?
Yeah, it would probably take a lot of enemies to actually get a profit, but you can at least mitigate the cost through that spec choice of if you're hitting enemies, you can get resource back, and therefore you're getting to do this more, and you're also not losing the value of your resource that you're getting.
Well, as long as
through
there's
your
3
force,
enemies
which, again,
that
we'll
you
get to
lunge
soon.
into,
Cool. Okay.
You
let's
become
try
net-
this. There we go.
not even.
Now, I don't need a
with the
target for this, I
ability.
can just kind of.
Nope, freely.
Let me
It's a
generate.
reposition.
Shift 3.
Right?
Okay.
That's cool.
It's just like a little cleave.
Oh, okay.
And you can do it without targeting
So it's kind
something.
of,
That's pretty cool.
Not too far a distance there.
Yeah, it's meant to.
I
like,
also
be more
like
of a
okay, so this is a weird mechanic, but like he's using the ability and he's not actually like he's tab targeted onto Goliath, but when he uses the ability, he doesn't hit unless he's in the area. So that actually opens up for a lot of skill expression even for tab target people.
positioner where
It is a very
you're dancing around
skill-based
your target.
class
You
is what
might,
it looks
be
like.
zipping back and forth between different enemies in melee.
Right.
I think
Whereas
the
your
difference
you
is
have
probably
other
like
tools
Blitz.
For going longer
Blitz is probably
distances. You have
different.
Blitz. You have the next one that's about to come up from here. So those are going to be more of your long distance
Leap strike.
mobility skills.
All right. Let me try this more long distance mobility skill here. Talk to me about
Leap strike.
Yeah.
Leap
so
to a
this is like-
target location.
This is the most.
Oh, wow.
free movable
Holy
to-
shit.
Yeah, it's very far, and it doesn't require a target, unlike Blitz.
No,
you're
no,
also
no,
gonna
no, no,
basically
no,
deal
no,
damage and
no
AoE around it, so it's just a
way.
more powerful but less frequently usable gap closer slash opener
No
if you
way.
even decide to use it as
I
an opener.
cannot be a ranger and fight against fighters.
Oh my god.
No. I mean, this is still, bro. This is like Lost Ark Leap Strike, by the way, and that's fucking awesome. But I cannot be a ranger fighting these fighters that can dash around way more than I can. You gotta give me a bone here. You gotta give me a bone because this is crazy. There's no way I'm kiting a fighter.
I am the
It is unplayable.
juggernaut. Oh, that was
And mages
so
with
cool. I love that.
one ability, blink.
Yeah, that's a fun one to use.
No
Holy
way.
smokes.
No way are they
Definitely
beating
more
fighters.
AoE
Fighter is
focused.
And again, guys, I am
what
using
the
0
f-
cooldowns right now just so I can demonstrate the abilities. Well, I know you're all thinking,
Holy
like, what? This character's just gonna
shit.
fly around the battlefield. That's not what's happening.
Literal rocket.
I know.
You can actually use this too to go up on ledges. Like if you were to try and
Oh, that's
get
sick.
up on one of these ledges we were trying earlier.
Bro,
you
do
don't
I
need
have to be a
target
fighter?
use it.
I might have to be a
Let me just check
fighter.
on
What
the
if I'm a
spec
fighter
options
with a
here.
bow? What if I'm a fighter ranger, dude?
Not currently, but there will be.
Alright, let me try to jump up on here.
Oh, not
I
quite.
was
Nice
too
try.
short. I was too short. My bad. Hold on, let me try it again.
Almost.
Actually, and usually I've had more success when I'm covering gaps rather than actually like trying to go up different verticalities. But
But you
sometimes,
can.
yeah, it works.
Oh, we did it. We did it, boys.
That's sick, though. I like that. I think that's good.
Very cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about. You know, I thought I fixed time of day, but it feels like it's getting darker. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about. Next up, these different forms.
Form
that I'm
of
seeing.
celerity, ferocity, and fluidity.
Yeah, so
These are your fighting
th-
forms.
these are
like
probably
the
biggest
arrows for
like,
rangers.
contributors to your combat momentum resource. You can spend momentum, but it's a resource that's primarily meant to be built up and maintained because of the bonuses that these forms provide. So if we want to just look at one of the first ones here, we can go into a little more detail on how those work.
I'm actually gonna make it a little bit. Whoops. My bad. I wanted to change
Oh, they're
the
doing
day slightly.
GM stuff, so they just
Put it right
switched the
over here.
perspective. That's so.
we
That's
go.
funny. That's funny.
Okay. Which one am I switching to?
They're like, you can't
Anyone you
watch
want.
that.
We'll
Let's
get through all of them.
go to, you know, I am playing a Renkai, so ferocity sounds good. Ooh.
All right. So now you'll notice in the top left here, he is in this form.
Okay.
So as long as you
2%
don't change
attack
forms,
speed
you will
per
permanently
10
remain in the
combat
form
momentum.
of, ferocity.
Nice,
we actually
nice.
renamed this recently, so you'll see Tempest there, but
Oh.
that went through a rename. So while in this form, your momentum will increase your attack speed the higher your momentum is. So for every point of momentum that you've got, your attack speed's going up. So you're basically ramping up that attack speed. as
Current
you
attack speed
generate.
is 86.9%.
86.9.
Yep.
I don't know what these
Generate
percentages
momentum.
mean. I don't think it really matters.
Your weapon combos are pretty good for generating momentum as well, especially your finishers.
Oh, so if you're just auto attacking, you just go faster and faster.
Okay, 86.9 has gone to
99.2.
Yep.
up, and it's dropping. Very nice.
Yep. You got to stay in combat to keep the resource going. And that's really what the fighter's all about, is like ramping up, being in that combat momentum, hence the name. And when the fights,
Wow, it feels like
it's-
that the attack speed is even increasing each individual ability speed as well.
Yep.
Oh, it is?
That's huge.
I thought that was cope. That's
That is
crazy.
super cool.
Wait,
So if you were to
Try to
change
do
forms,
Cataclysm.
you would lose the
Try to do
attack speed bonus,
Cataclysm.
but
Do
immediately
Cataclysm,
gain the
Cataclysm,
bonus of
Cataclysm. I gotta see it.
corresponding form.
okay, that's so crazy.
Alright, very cool.
Womp, womp, womp,
So if you
womp.
want to shift V into maybe a form of celerity here.
Alright, and that is on Shift V.
There you go. Now run around. You might have to blitz him again. You probably need to get some mana and then build it up a little more. But
Oh, my bad. Let me get mana.
this one increases your movement speed, so this lets you just move around the battlefield a lot more nimbly.
Dude, fighter is
So
so
if you need
sick.
to, like, close the gap a little bit, and your gap closers are on cooldown or whatever. This is a good way of traversing the field a bit faster.
Yeah. Wow, this is pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
That's
Wait a
significant
minute.
Speed boost.
And you can just really swap it. Oh, battle stance swapping is going to be a skill?
And then the third one is more of a defensive option. A bit more
Tanky.
situational, but it is a disable resistance form. This is form of fluidity. And while you're in it, you are much more difficult to be CC'd. So you'll be more resistant to stuns, to roots,
Oh, fuck.
trips, pretty much anything that falls into the CC category.
Try to sleep me or something?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. There's a chance that I'll still hit you, but let's see. I can't actually. I'm in your party.
Oh, okay. No, it's okay. That's fine. All right. So this is basically when you want to literally be unstoppable through CC effects. Like this is going to be a 40% reduction on that. That's pretty powerful.
40% is pretty
Yep,
big.
And again, all the numbers are kind of in tune. Or being
it's-
tuned.
it seems-
we just when we're testing these out, we
Okay.
want them to
40%
feel
seems fine.
impactful, just to validate that they are, cool things, and then we start to balance to tone that back down.
Very cool. All right. All right. Last but most certainly not least is an ability called God Mode. I mean, excuse me. What's it called? I'm sorry. Exert?
This is Exert. Yes, it's
just
my earlier.
I know your segue. Actually, it was a great segue.
Yep.
So speaking of balance and what will be happening, obviously, with Alpha 2 and even before Alpha
Oh,
2,
God.
we'll be balancing some of this stuff. So just keep that in mind. However, segue here into God Mode, aka Exert. We have what?
So if we go over here to in the skill tree to the left, Exert. This is a very high cost, very high payoff, essentially super mode that you can go into, and you're
Like
you're
a berserk
rapidly
mood.
spending your momentum while you're in this form. It's all or nothing. You can't turn it off. Once you pop this, you will stay in this mode until your momentum is fully drained, and then you're gonna have to build it all the way back up again.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, you're getting increased attack speed,
Movement speed and immunity.
CC immunity, and whatever else it says in here.
We've got 20% increased attack and movement speed.
It's like an Olaf ult.
and immunity to disabling effects while
so-
active.
So if you can kind of draw the connection, this is like you're taking the three forms, which are CC resistance, movement speed, and attack speed, and getting just all three of them in a huge burst for a small window of time.
Very small window. Yes.
Yep.
And that small window is potentially, as it states here, at least it would be about 5 seconds if you're fully charged up on momentum, because it's essentially ticking at 20% per second. Is that right?
Yep.
let's
And
talk-
again,
yeah,
all the
go ahead.
numbers are super tunable.
Absolutely.
We
Yes,
will be
yes.
tuning these numbers, but we're just kind of putting them in a place where we can playtest them. And as we get more effective with these, it's like, okay, now we're seeing the ceiling of how powerful these things are. We're going to bring it back a little bit.
Let's talk about its spec options.
Yep. So we've got one that resets your cooldowns based on how much momentum you had at activation. So if you use this at 50 momentum, you would take about half of your cooldowns off. But if you use it at full momentum, you would reset all your cooldowns, so you could just go straight into your rotation upon popping this. And then this one is lets it act as a CC break as well.
So this, okay, I like this. This is a nice combo. So you get increased combat momentum with movement, attack speed, and the immunity to disabling effects. And it becomes a CC break on activation if you're under the effects of CC. And depending on the amount percentage-wise of momentum you have available at time of activation, potentially will reset your ability cooldowns as well.
1% per point
This
of
is
combat
obviously,
momentum.
guys, I know a lot of you out there
wait
right
a
now are
minute.
just probably going insane in chat, and I'm assuming that. This is where we balance. Everything's going to be balanced, right? This is
So you
just
have
the
100
initial
combat
find the fun,
momentum.
and
It's
we're going
100%
to
of
work around balance here.
ability
But
cooldown
this
reduction.
is a cool ability. This is literally like super. I am a fighter. Hear me roar.
Bring it down to
Glory.
0.5%.
Have you used it?
Bring it
No,
down to
I haven't.
0.5%.
Gotta show it.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. So I guess in order to properly do this, I should
Yeah,
actually set my
no
cooldowns
cooldowns.
Do you have it fully spec'd?
back. I do. I have it fully spec'd.
Keenan, do you have Condemn on your bar?
And grab it real quick.
Okay, yeah, that's a stun. We could we'll have Keenan condemn you, and then you'll just like break out of it after your full momentum.
Yeah, let me start generating that. Ooh, love that shield effect. Oh, and you know I gotta get off this form of fluidity. Let's go to.
Do ferocity.
Yeah, let's do ferocity.
You could probably
Use
blitz
your
him for a head
cleave.
start on momentum into an overpower.
Oh yeah, overpower is good
Keep
too.
an eye on your mana. Let me know when you're ready to be stunned.
Okay, I'm almost up there. But before you stun me, let me start doing some abilities.
I am feeling that wound.
Wait, just don't kill him.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Oh,
Alright,
there's a
now you
beacon
can stun me.
All right, stun him up. All right, use it. Oh, you don't have? Did you not spec it?
Oh, I thought I did. I thought I did spec it. Let's try it again.
Well, let's check the tree. If
Yeah, let me double check.
there might be an issue there.
Did I spec it? Did I spec
You spec'd it.
I do have it spec'd.
That's weird. That used to work.
Let's double check. Hold on.
Little
Try
bug.
one more time and I'll click on it this time. In case there was some finger shenanigans happening. Alright, I'm ready.
I think.
Nope.
Yeah, oh, I had an expression failure. Sad.
All right, well, let's use it without that. That used to work.
My bad. Guys,
Used to
welcome
work.
bugs.
Yep.
That's okay. Okay.
Now it's balanced.
Let's show. Yeah, now it's balanced. See, the game wouldn't even allow that level of imbalance. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let me generate this up again. Let me get some.
Oh, we actually get to see the cooldowns. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Close, close. 45-second cooldown on Cataclysm. Okay, not bad. Now Exert.
Okay, and then give myself some mana. And now let's use Shift 2.
Is that like 90%? Dude, his movement speed is nuts.
Oh, that's cool. I
There you
love
go.
that effect. That effect looks great.
That's pretty sick
Sure the
though.
effect
If you're
is
gonna
on
go
that
for like
kind of
all the
movement.
way out, I like
Okay.
that.
And let me set my cooldowns real quick one more time.
I don't think it's busted
And is there? Can I give myself max momentum?
necessarily.
There's a debug ability.
I
for
do
it,
think
but
the ability
I would just
cost
say
reduction
blitz
should
into
be
overpower, and then weapon combo is the best way to do it.
way lower than 1%. Like
That's
0.5
hit your 8 button.
seems about right.
There we go. All right.
Try to hold still.
I just keep this going all the time. I got no cooldowns.
Yeah. Now we're cheating.
That is so good.
That's insane.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm pretty
very
sure there's
cool.
some like cheese mechanics
Alright,
where you can
well,
like build
that
momentum
is
while
a
you're
let
attacking
me just say,
and
I'm
using
sorry, let
your
me speak
momentum
on behalf
consistently.
of what I assume is our audience saying, "Holy shit!"
that is a cool class. I mean, the archetype feels great. The movement, the fluidity is there. It feels really good just to play with these skills. Well done, guys. Well done for Alpha 2. This is feeling nice as a fighter and as.
I do have to say the only thing I'm concerned about is the amount of mobility. Given as a ranger, you have like 1 snapback ability, and this guy has 3 movement ability, 3 gap closers. So like, there's no way I'm out kiting this guy. He can break CC. He can break through traps. He can break through my slows with Exert. He can daze me. I have 1 ability to cleanse. He can trip stagger me. It's a lot in 1 class. Are all the abilities cool? Absolutely. 100%. Is there any way a ranger or a rogue or a mage is ever going to be able to run away from a fighter? None. 0 chance. Not a singular chance are they getting away from a fighter. If you're going to allow fighter in this state, you need to increase the amount of mobility in other classes or in other archetypes. Or fighter is just the best option to go, and then you spec into whatever other secondary augment that you want. Because holy shit, that's crazy.
Melee. Obviously, that mobility is going to be king when it comes to traversing the battlefield. And being that juggernaut class fantasy feeling, I think is really captured well here. What do you guys say we take a look at Oakenbane and kind of work through that area and show people off a little bit of the world of Vera?
Yep, let's put the kit to the test.
Yeah,
Did you want to talk about the weapon first?
Oh
or?
my god, you're right. Thank you. Yes. Okay, you guys obviously see here we have got a pretty beefy looking sword that I have equipped, and Brian and the combat team have been working a lot on skill progression.
Imagine a cleric or a bard trying to get away from this too.
You saw a
It's
hint
impossible.
of that in its
Absolutely
very
impossible.
bare bones form with the Ranger update, but there's been
Fucking
a lot of
dope
work
class,
towards
though.
that weaponry. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So we've been revamping the weapon tree entirely. So the first point of progression here is we wanted to give people a choice in how long their weapon combo actually is. So you've got the base weapon combo that you start with on the greatsword, which is 3 attacks, and you can extend that out into 4 attacks if you want. In addition to that, both the 3rd hit and the 4th hit can have proc finisher attacks, and those proc finisher attacks can trigger additional effects on you, such as an additional heal effect, a boost of momentary attack speed.
And I'm looking here,
Yep.
Brian, so when I go over to the left-hand side and it has me to kind of an option, right? I'm unlocking this node and selecting down one of these
Deflection,
4
follow
choices.
through,
And for those of
power,
you
or
who are
precision.
watching and perhaps don't recall the use case here of these weapon skill trees. These are separate progression trees that you unlock and advance within as you are using and adventuring with a particular weapon type, right, Brian?
Correct. And yeah, they'll advance faster than your archetype tree, so you'll be able to level up a couple weapons as you're going along.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun to do, actually.
Yeah, and that section that you're looking at now is probably the most
my
work
bad.
in progress part. I still need to revamp this passive section. It's pretty weak overall, but yeah, this version 0, you could choose between different modifications that would best fit your class. You could choose between a little bit of deflection bonus, which is avoidance, some I think crit damage, accuracy.
So each node you're kind of choosing a different. Oh, I see. Very cool.
Or you
Yeah,
could
that's
just
awesome.
all stack into one.
Yeah, right now they're all the same. I'm gonna mix up that a little bit and make it more interesting with some different capstone passives and such.
Okay.
But yeah, this side's way more interesting, way more fleshed out. So what you just clicked on there is the first proc that you'll
Swiftness,
get access
endurance,
to.
or blade
And you
twist.
have a choice between 3 of these things. The first is Swordmaster Swiftness. This is a temporary boost of attack speed. So if you get this proc and then you can instantly use another ability or continue in your combo if you want, and it'll trigger that next ability all the quicker.
And to talk a little bit about, obviously reiterating again kind of, these proc effects, these essentially are the incentive loops for why weapon combo attacks, which are basic weapon attacks, are the fillers between rotational effects, because you are getting, as you unlock progression within these trees, you're getting substantial benefit from procs that occur by using the basic weapon combo.
Right.
Right. I should speak on that a little bit more in like a general concept. So we want to encourage weaving between abilities and weapon combo attacks, and we're going to do that in a few different ways that you'll be seeing in this stream. The first way is archetype weapon combo interactions. You've already seen some of that where the finishers give you a burst of momentum, and Overpower and Brutal Cleave get reduced or reset cooldowns on combo end as well. The second type of interaction is weapon combo to ability proc synergies, such as direct damage on the next ability hit after a combo finisher, or a status effect set up for ability use. And the third version is ability to weapon combo proc synergy. So this is deeper in the tree. Your abilities will have a chance to set up your next weapon finisher with additional effects.
Very cool. That is awesome. So let's see, which one should I go for here?
I'd go with the swiftness for the fighter.
All right, let's do it. Effect
And
duration, huh?
Yeah, that's actually really strong because it's a very short burst of attack speed, so the duration's really good there, and also the proc chance. I'd probably max out the proc chance one in the middle, and then get the duration. That's probably strongest for the swiftness.
Okay.
All right. And now I've already gone and unlocked this path here of the extended finishers.
Yeah, you could probably take some points out of the extra damage nodes and then put them into...
I've never heard you say that before. This is
well,
blasphemous.
it's only because you're getting even more damage through the procs, potentially.
Oh, okay.
It's all more math and less math, right?
That's true. That is true.
And another thing
Very
here is it all
reductionist point of
depends
view,
on your
yes.
build. All depends on your build, and you'll see that more in this next choice here, which is a lot more interesting. So that first one was like a kind of introduction to the proc system. It's kind of a more just additive extra thing. This is kind of not forcing the weaving, but encouraging the weaving a little bit harder. So first we got second strike. So your next ability use after a weapon combo finisher has an additional damage proc that occurs.
Okay.
And then a good choice for DPS is the one right below that, which is perfect timing. So the next ability you cast will have reduced cooldown. So it's kind of like, do you care about that reduced cooldown for your rotation? Or
Oh,
do you
yeah,
not?
you
And
do.
just take the
Absolutely, you
additional damage.
do.
And the third option there, unfortunately, it's not working yet. This is expanding upon
Burning to the
status
greatsword
effect
and
interaction
extended
stuff. That's what
finishers.
we're working on imminently, getting that built into the weapons, but whenever this is working, it'll apply burning to your target and have additional interactions for the mage.
That. That's cool. That's awesome.
Okay.
And now you guys are starting to see, obviously, a lot of these
This is sick.
these progression trees
by the way.
getting implemented now. And this is not just obviously for the greatsword, but you have done this in parity with the other existing weapon classes for part of A2's entrance criteria, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the really cool things about our game is the amount of weapon choice that's going to be present. All the weapons will be hopefully viable for almost every archetype, because you can specialize it in a certain way that will benefit you and what your archetype role is. There obviously be certain things that are better for other things, like a two-hander is going to do a lot of damage, for instance, but you might want to shield if you're taking a lot of the damage, but still, if you want to break that mold a little bit, you'll have options available.
Just to expand on that a little bit too, it's like not even just archetype and weapon synergy, but also it's like your you're building based on your expected or intended comp that you're always going to be, or often going to be running. It's like, let's say your friend rolls a mage, and it's like, I want to build with my friend, so I know they are a fire mage, and that's where your burning blade example comes in. Like, there's going to be more stuff like that, so that you're just kind of playing off each other.
That segues really good into the next proc that we have here. So this is your ability setting up your next weapon combo. So we've got 3 options here. The first is Keen Edge. So whenever this procs, your next weapon combo will have a 100% chance to crit.
Ooh, nice.
Next option, which if you have a bard in your party, you might not want this one, but it causes your next ability finisher to restore some mana to yourself.
Ooh.
And then the third one is
leaks.
We're not sure about where this is going to end up. It might get moved over to the tank tree or the mace tree, but it procs a bit of temp health on the next weapon finisher.
Okay.
It's a pretty sweet tank option.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think I'm gonna go for the Keen Edge though.
Yeah, that's a solid choice.
All attack speed crit.
Yup.
Yeah, I feel like I wanna reinvest
DPS beast mode.
Okay, I respect this app now. Very cool. That's awesome. This is a. I think people, just the complexities that you guys are again talking about. Like, obviously, we've been talking about weapon skill trees and archetype design, since we first were talking about Ashes back in 2017, and now we're seeing in fruition to part of the systems that we are going to be debuting as part of Alpha 2. You guys are going to be able to get your hands on this and kind of give us that active feedback. How does this level of depth and complexity grant you, the player, more granular control and choice over how your role that you're playing fits into the greater comp of the party setting, the raid setting, or solo gameplay, and your itemization selections, right? Like, all of that is a level of depth, I think, that players want to exist in space-wise, because it gives them the freedom to really define the way they're approaching the difficulty challenge that is the game, and that is combat in general. That's super cool, and especially like this breadth of options, right? Even the horizontal choices here, like, that creates a very interesting playground of rock paper scissors effects between the multitude of archetype skill progression and weapon type skill progression that you're going to experience even in a PvP setting. And it also is just more levers that we get to pull on the encounter design section as well for PvE. Very cool. Well done, guys. This is I think I speak for the community when I say great progress, very great progress, and Alpha 2 is shaping up to be not just a great testing experience, but a lot of fun, I think. Obviously the world.
Yeah.
Let me in!
Is significant.
Let me in!
The last thing I want to highlight is the work that we've done on the animation side with the weapon combos.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually do your weapon combo in place here, we can see it. We can see whenever you get. So you got a stab hit there. Whenever you get stab hits on the third and the fourth hit, those are actually procs.
3,
so
4.
If you connect with the second
Those 2 hits
of that proc hit, you'll receive the additional effects. But you actually have to connect with a monster or player to receive the effect.
Okay.
And I think the proc rate is at a static 25% right now. We're looking at other ways to scale that, like maybe it scales with stat, or maybe it scales with additional nodes, but right now it's kind of low.
Oh, there it was. He weaved it in.
Especially if you're unlucky like Steve.
I know, really. What's going on here?
Come on.
I'm sure we'll see it in combat.
There it is.
There
There's
it is.
one.
Okay.
Oh.
And these guys, we're still missing some effects that are going to help drive.
Oh, his attack speed is way fast.
Oh my god,
Smoked.
I'm so sorry. I just was like, relentless attack.
Yeah, the momentum and the bonus attack speed on the greatsword stacking together smoked me.
That was good. Let's see. So
Oh,
sorry.
you're corrupted.
He's also level 15.
Did I go corrupt?
You did.
Oh,
boy.
no.
Oh, he's red.
It should be fine as long as we're in a party. Speaking of which, we should form the party.
Yes. Well, yeah, let's get this going. We can talk more over.
Yep.
just-
Are you guys disbanded?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, another thing we can talk about when we're moving is we did revamp the animation a little bit. We made it work with the weight of the greatsword a little bit more, so you'll see like more precise pose holding, and it's less of a lumbering beast than it once was. We're kind of leaving that space for the mace and the axe, but it really feels like a sword now to me. It's awesome.
Can I also show off one other thing? The environment team and the engineering team, and Keenan, I think you were part of this as well, obviously, between the ability system and the interactable environments. Something that I have not seen happen really very often as part of MMO level design is destructible assets.
Oh
we
no!
have that in and running. I want to see if I can destroy these 2 tents here real quick.
Oh!
Wait, somebody else destroyed them.
They just got hit by the cone of cold.
I think so.
What the heck?
That was hilarious. I'll find some other tents. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me find another one. Here we go.
Don't forget to put your helmet on.
Oh, should I put my helmet on? Do I want to put the helmet on?
It's a cool looking helmet.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put the helmet on. Let me see. Hold
That's
on.
a cool way to solve props getting in the way.
That's true. Let me put
Always
my-
wear a helmet.
No, I meant you could just kill him.
Oh shit! Look at that.
That's pretty
If he had been wearing his helmet when you were
Here we go.
attacking him.
awesome.
Oh wow,
Love it.
that's sick. The world's coming
We need to
together.
talk to the scout first, don't we?
Yeah, we should grab the quest.
Oh,
Typical
scout over
Steven.
Here, that's right.
Alright, let's clear.
Okay, so you guys
Looting.
remember at the end of our commissions live stream last month, this was Oakenbane Keep. I just kind of came up to the entrance here. I didn't want to go inside because this story arc. See if I have actually information on the story arc. Here we go. So we are part of the Ancient Violence story arc, which is an inhuman threat in the Riverlands. And so it talks about a little bit the settlers of Vera have known of a constant struggle with the goblins that overran the ancestral Kalar lands. And while we know nothing about their capabilities, it is important that we now find them throwing themselves at Lionhold's paltry defenses, Lionhold being one of the introductory locations right near the portal area
Right.
in the Riverlands. And Captain Avonmore needs help assessing the scope of that threat.
So we just need to scout out the place.
Interesting. And we also have here what appears to be a side quest. Scout Yoren.
Oh, perfect.
Let's talk with Yoren. What does he have here?
This is a great
Once a
place
great
for our
place of
ancestors.
now is overrun. We shall do something about this. Alright, he's been charged with observing. I would be happy to take some of your dispensation as pay.
Be back when it's done.
So he wants us to kill 20 of the goblins here in Oakenbane. We've already dispatched a few of them.
Just
All right,
accept that.
Accept that. Okay, we got the ancestral revenge. Let's do this. What do we got going on
Ooh.
over here?
Little goblin thing.
Some glint.
What the hell? There's a little
Okay.
goblin just spinning. He's bugged out.
He's just kind of flipping around over there.
I love seeing shit like that.
Ooh,
It's
this
so
is
fun.
feeling moody. It's feeling moody.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't like go up and attack them. Okay.
All right, not too bad.
That's Steven.
So now,
I need
of
all the glint.
Your guys' experiences in MMOs, how many of you actually mained as a fighter?
Me. I think I'm the only one here. I know everyone's here has played fighter, but I love playing fighters. Like they're kind of my first choice.
You know, I'm gonna. Oh, hold on. I see that there is a
Watch out, big
spirit
bull.
nearby. Oh my God.
I already popped my blizzard too.
Okay. Whirlwind. Whirlwind.
We got drags here, nice.
Oh yeah, this is
What
a
is this
named
guy?
mob. It's a named mob. We'll have to be sure to loot him after we kill him.
Holy shit! What a great
Yeah,
sword.
Steven needs to lose him, not anyone else.
Why are you guys saying that?
Yeah, it's almost like something happened.
Yeah, we don't have any like ninja looters in this group for sure.
Now, some of you guys are seeing that the effects of that big explosion. That is still effects that are being authored right now, but that is specifically a progression. Oh, that guy was pretty strong. That is specifically a status progression, is that right?
Which one?
Oh, I got something.
Wait. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Did I get something? I got some, looked like, let me see if I can find that, hold on. What do we got here?
Toy soldier legs.
Legs of an ancient toy soldier that survived well past when it ought to have, thanks to ancient magics within. Can be reassembled with other pieces. Okay, cool.
All right.
So sorry, I was talking about the conflagrate.
Yeah, so one thing you'll be noticing a lot on the mage is I'm throwing out different elements of projectiles. Like here's a fireball, and then after that you'll see my weapon combo is throwing out little fire projectiles. As we showed in the previous mage live stream, that is elemental empowerment and how it works. However, we've changed a little bit how that works. Now, on the finisher attack of every combo, you get the element based on what your infused element is. And then you can use certain abilities to promote that from burning to like conflagrate in the case that you're seeing.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
That was a lot.
Huge.
So you'll see me doing
Ran out
that
of
here and
mana.
there.
I need to give myself some mana.
And that's a concept that we're applying to all the classes. On the tank, we recently moved. They used to generate courage and apply stagger on every hit. We moved that all to the combo end as well, which is really nice because that allows us to normalize these effects across multiple different weapon types and really make true our promise of weapon choice.
Keenan is playing the cleric.
It's like we don't want to, put too much emphasis on attack speed for proc rate, and there's other ways to do that. You can normalize chance and all that stuff, but we also just thought, like, from a gameplay perspective, it is really cool to like make you have to commit to that final hit. It just kind of makes it feel a little bit more like you're working towards something rather than just getting something on every attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
The initial thought was that the additional flexibility was good with the tank playstyle, but having that additional thing to chase mid-rotation is turning out pretty well.
We got an NPC here.
A forlorn
Found this
hero.
dude. Looks like some. Oh, this is. We saw this guy before. He was in our last time we showed Oakenbane Keep.
Right.
An armored shade floats before you, incapable of speech. It, however, does extend a translucent arm to hand you a corporeal letter. Oh, I've
The
received a
goblin.
letter.
Okay.
Okay.
A marred
This
message.
letter does. The paper in this letter is inked on what feels so old that it could disintegrate. Against time and your gentle handling, it holds together. That sounds like I should open this letter.
Sure.
Though
Read
the
it.
letter is ancient, the text in it is clearly legible.
Papa.
Oh, no, wait, no. Papa. Mama says we won't be able to visit anymore. After we've through the portal... Oh, shit, I messed that up.
After we leave through the portal.
C minus.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, wait.
Retake.
Papa.
Take two.
Mama says we won't be able to visit anymore after we leave through the portal. Didn't feel right to leave you alone, so I'm leaving you my bravest toy soldier. Oh, that was the toy soldier piece we found.
Okay.
To help you and the others here fight off the demons coming for us. I hate to tell you, kid, I don't think that toy soldier's gonna
Love
help.
always Troy.
I'm getting too old
Don't
for
tell him
toys.
that.
I know. His name is Troy.
Turn the
Oh,
letter
Love always
over.
Troy.
We have respawns here.
The word Og is written in blood across the back of the paper 4 distinct times. Sounds
What?
interesting. Oh. It's going to give me some experience.
Deliver the toy
to the Forgotten Soldiers Memorial Site. Okay, so we need to find a memorial site. Aw, that's sad. What history? What history lives here? Love the banners.
He's like not
God,
targeting
I love
anything,
I also
and I
love
think
the
it's kind of
ambience here,
cool.
the, like goblins.
Oh my god. Whirlwind, Cleave. Nice way to build up momentum there.
We're mopping these goblins up.
Steven's still corrupted.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't seem like being corrupted.
Yeah, we've been
Is
doing a lot
crazy.
of playtest cycles in this area, getting it good.
Yeah, just be red.
We're
Who
pretty
cares?
experienced.
Yeah, we have had many deaths in this area, but
It's kind of like
yeah, what kills you gets
being
you
red in
stronger, right?
Tibia. People can attack
That's
you,
how it
but
is.
whatever.
That wasn't close.
No. Guys, I want to talk about another thing that we always are keeping in mind towards Alpha 2. Whoops.
The damages seem tuned down, and I
Keeping
kind of
in
like
mind
that.
towards Alpha 2 is performance testing. That's something that PI has been helping us test, and there's another PI test happening, I think, next week. Which is both the visual performance that you're seeing within the game world from a rendering perspective, as well as from a networking perspective on the servers as well. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of benefits there because it is something that is happening now. And
I feel like Blizzard got a huge update, no? That looks way better.
Might want to get a little mana back there.
I know, I have no mana. I'm so sorry. I'm just cheating grabbing mana. We need a bard in this party.
Well, you do have blood fusion if you so choose.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about blood fusion. I should choose that.
Yeah, next AoE pack you could use that with
So that gives
Whirlwind and see how that works.
50% back of damage done as mana.
Yep, so round all these guys up and pop it and start AoEing.
Oh yeah, good call. Forgot about that.
Wow.
Nice.
They have ways to keep topped up, do more damage, remove
this area looks
CC,
great
and
for
have
ancient
insane
balance.
mobility. Fighter OP, man. Fighter OP.
Alright, looks like we got something up here on our right.
Wolves up front, let's get them. Let's do this. What do we got?
Incoming.
What are
Like
these?
we got Alpha
Audio.
up top. Try to pull him down.
I see this alpha wolf up there.
Alpha. Alpha Wolf. Oh, Alpha Wolf. That's so funny. The way that they named it. Alpha Wolf.
Who's alpha? Who's this guy talking about alpha?
We're about to be in Alpha. No, I mean.
Player on me.
Okay, I'm getting that mana back.
I feel like there's a lot of combos that you could do.
Player.
Yep, he's dead though.
Dude, I can't wait for Alpha 2 because I want to give so much feedback on keybinds. And I think the 2-bar, like 2
Yeah, let's
ability bar is more than enough. I
Right
think
here.
that is perfect for
Has
the amount of keybinds that we should have.
Alright,
I don't think they
let's
should
grab
go
the
any
material.
higher. If they go any higher, I will lose my mind.
Let's go behind the den, maybe.
I only have so many buttons I can click with my left hand.
Come around from the.
And I am not using an MMO mouse because that is awful. I hate using MMO mouses.
Oh, should we go up here?
Go
Does
along
the
the
wall connect?
walls.
Let's try it.
I think there's mobs up there too, but we can give it a shot.
No, it looks like there's a
Yeah, this
break in the wall.
Oakenbane Keep is
Further
way different from the last
there's
time
a
that we
flare
saw
up there, so be
this.
careful.
I believe we
plan.
saw it for
Boiled.
the Cleric last time?
Okay, here we go.
Or Tank? It might have been Tank.
Oh, there we go.
Alright, sleeping.
So we've already killed the 20 goblins, but the next goal is to get all the toy soldiers.
Oh,
Ooh. Okay. Boom. He's staying topped up. He's used Exert. Or no, that was Blood Fusion. He used Blood Fusion to stay topped up. Okay. Dude is
Doing it.
in there.
From the back.
We got a friend. Oh,
Okay.
No, he's hurting. He's hurting.
Help him. Help him! There you go.
all right, he's frozen.
Boom. Whack. Whack. Whack.
Got him.
Huge.
I feel bad for the wolves, actually.
Locate goblin supply crates.
They're just in their little dens.
Wrong place, wrong time.
These dens smell nasty.
Big pull.
Big pull?
Well, I guess that's every pull in here.
I was
Yeah.
about to say.
It looks like you can clear it out with 4 people quite easily, though. I don't see any sort of real
Fighters
difficulty
did
here.
work, though.
Yeah, I'm doing some
Big
work
pulls. Big pulls are what fighter is all
here. Sell
about.
out. Ooh.
All right, doing a sleep again. Gonna focus the shaman over here.
There we go. Big whirlwind.
That mana back.
He hits the Cataclysm on one person. We're good. We're good. We're chilling.
Nicely done.
Okay. Get up here. There's a goblin right there.
Ooh,
I
it's
like
dark.
how relatively simple
We pulled a bunch here. Pulled a bunch.
each class is, but like how in depth it can go. Like I feel like there's a lot of missed mechanics that are happening.
Later in the
There's a
night.
lot of animation cancels that you could do possibly.
There's a shaman out there too.
There's a lot of depth here for as low of a skill floor it is. I feel like it could be a relatively high skill ceiling, and I think that that's really, really cool.
Destroy their homes. So
Wow.
they'll come back.
That'd be cool if that worked.
Grayshore
Found
Transport
some of the,
Company.
the cargo.
Yeah, let's pick that up.
Okay. Picked up a.
Didn't update his
Some
objectives.
loot. All right, sleeping that pack up there.
Nice.
Nice.
The goblins sound
Got
dope.
Next pack, actually.
All right, AoE.
Ragzad.
Oh yeah, we got a named guy. That's one of the ones we need.
Look up.
Where is he?
He is right on top of our tank.
Oh, shaman back here.
Big great sword dude.
Sleep off. Short lived.
He took like 0 damage from that whirlwind.
Yeah, me too.
He's just consistently taking nothing because he's dealing damage with blood fusion up.
All right, bringing that wolf down.
That's weird. Maybe they have God mode on? I don't know. Maybe fighter OP.
Mana here real quick.
What are we thinking?
Okay, I got
Resting.
some howling wolf garb. Nice.
Nice.
And I found a toy soldier arm. We have
There we go.
We have the arms now and the.
And the legs.
We're doing
Sweet. Halfway.
Perfect.
Halfway.
it.
You need 4 things? What, the body and the legs?
Every time. Sorry.
And the head?
Every time.
Body and the head?
Going on over here.
Got ads from the left.
Boom.
He's asleep.
They're all shaking.
Careful.
Blood fusion,
to the left here.
Maim, consecrating wave, Blitz. Blood fusion's still
back.
going. He's doing the whirlwind. Alright, alright. He's got shift 3 that he doesn't use. He doesn't do the leap or the... Ooh, was he CC'd there? He might have been CC'd there. Staying in the ferocity form. Alright. Leaps onto him. Whirlwind. Do a final uppercut.
Yeah, we got Budge over here. Let's rest up.
Alright, let's make sure there's no ads over here to our right.
Jump, jump.
See where the wall kind of sticks out back there? I think we need to
Oh,
go
yeah.
that
Mhm.
far.
Right, wolf right here. It's patrolling.
Let's kill him.
We got ads.
Okay.
Boom.
Let's just go to the wall. Go to the spot.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna sleep him as we pull.
You guys are
Sleep
fine.
dropping now.
Just let the fighter take care of all the AoE. You're good.
I think that LOS to me.
A lot of wolves just
Line of
past that,
sight?
so if we end up having to move a little bit, don't go any further than this.
Okay. Tank holding them off. Let's go Goliath.
Yeah, drag
Keenan
from the
helping him
corner.
out.
Alright, this
Steven's out of
player's
mana.
down.
Doesn't have blood transfusion up.
Favorite place of any tank.
There you go. That was another Blitz. Could also use his Exert.
Wait, I
He
might pull
hasn't
cooldown.
used
I'll
that
bring it
yet.
Alright, it's just him now. Burn him.
Oh, this is the big
Bringing it back
boy.
to the wall.
Booj
Nice.
booj.
Cool.
Booj booj. What kind of shield is that? Alright. Everybody's riled. He's a little shaken. Into a trip, into a maim.
Shield is strong.
Alright. Exert. Exert out. Yeah, that shield is pretty...
Mana
It's like a
back,
mana
here we
shield or
go,
something.
wait for it.
Shift
I wonder
1.
if those wound stacks are
Boom.
reducing his shields though.
Should be.
Okay.
Oh, there's a trip. Can you maim him?
Yeah, he's got him.
Nice.
Come on,
Tripped.
get him. Get him.
That shield
that
is
shield
keeping
down.
him barely alive.
What a
Rupture,
clutch.
rupture, 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 rupture,
Unbelievable that
rupture.
Almost like it's scripted to do that.
Oh shit.
That was
Goblin
sweet,
skull.
Goblin skull.
Sweet.
Okay.
Very nice.
Maybe you need that for later.
All right. Now what were we? Were we looking for something?
Toy soldier
Yeah,
stuff.
So I think in here is going to be the last two goblins we're trying to find.
Yeah, they are up this ramp. This way, I think.
Watch out. There's both left and right here.
I was trying to thread the needle and pull both.
Sleeping the shaman. Focus on this pack here.
Oh my god, what a consecrating
just
or
destroyed that
cataclysm
Heck
into
yeah.
consecrating wave
I'm telling you, if you destroy the homes, they
from
won't
the cleric. Dude, see Steven's got god mode on or something. He has not lost any HP this whole
The
time.
shaman. Freezing in.
I don't see any sort of like health thing, but that whirlwind on the named mob must be bugged or something.
All right.
Careful up here. This is like super danger area.
I'm gonna pull some of these back, I think.
Yeah, you could probably, yeah.
Go.
Sleeping the flare.
Maim.
Okay, we got the other flare too
And-
now. Oh, got him.
So I think it was somebody was using a bow that is not a ranger, by the way. There is no ranger in the party. Oh, Steven lost his corruption. Ooh, I wonder
What's happening?
if it was the amount of
All right.
XP. Like he hit
Keep
level
an eye out.
16, by the way.
He's right there on the left. He's pathing. Just gonna
Alright,
wait
you
it
wanna-
out.
Slayer
We
slags.
want to clear up here.
The slag's the last boss.
There's a
one, or-
flare above us. Flare right
Clear
here.
to the right while we wait, and
Yeah.
then pull him while we're.
Okay, they're pulled.
Leave this one that's close to us, Chad.
Yeah, I'm waiting them to round them up because they're
Yeah.
all
We
coming.
also got the next
Yeah,
pack.
they're all coming. All right, sleep dropping now.
Drop in sleep. Oh,
shit.
my god.
Oh, our tank's dead.
It's not much use if that happens.
I just use Steven to tank. He's the off
Dude,
DPS right now.
consider this-
Clutch res.
They bumped my first one, second one coming.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep guiding.
Yeah, we're fine. Steven's not getting any aggro, by the way. What's up with that? Okay. Jumping in.
Stable.
Our tank has very low mana. Our cleric is keeping tapped up.
You got more?
Consecrating wave comes through pretty clutch. Nice, nice. Okay. We're slapping. Damn, he is kiting for his life right now. The Maims come through. Oh, he leaping strikes an inch away,
You did it.
and they
Nice.
get him anyways.
They get on the shaman.
Let's clear up these ads. I wonder if there's a way to stop cast, like stopping cast, like a kick ability or something like that, or if like
Kill on the shaman?
you can like stagger them to stop casting. Oh,
We're doing it.
Alright, did we loot slags? Cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's what I was
gotta
gonna
loot
say.
him.
the little blue
I
one,
sure
I'm
did.
assuming.
What?
Did
Oh.
you? Did
No.
you loot slag?
Dude.
Trade with me. No, trade it to me. Trade
No,
it to me.
that's not a tradable item.
Oh shit.
He'll be back soon.
Okay. Maybe we can.
Yeah, let's move up in
Maybe
the
we can
meantime.
spawn him.
It's actually pretty quick.
How this fight, I mean, has been performing. Exemplary performance by the fighter, if I don't say so myself. I mean, really,
Mhm.
just unbelievable.
Top tier.
Top tier. I do love the area. I love how each of the areas just dramatically change as story arcs come online
Yeah.
visually, right? The atmospherics alone are significant. Not to mention the obvious sound ambience, everything. It's these goblins. I love their vocals.
Yeah, the little evil laugh like the big guys do right before they spin to win on you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's audio cues.
It's a nice like audio telegraph too.
Oh my god, the massive tank stun right there.
Alright, gonna freeze the flare.
Nice, nice. Cataclysm. Hits all. Riles up his
They're
allies.
starting to respawn here.
I wonder what proximity it is for the Rile. Alright, this guy is getting absolutely decimated.
Back is back.
Alright.
Who's? The name guy?
No,
Flag?
back over here.
Oh, pack. Those greatswords are insane
So what are
looking.
some of the things, Trad, that you look for from the community, or Keenan or Brian, as it relates to kind of everything we talked about today, right? What are the things you want to hear people kind of opining on in our different social media forums and whatnot, and Discord?
I mean-
Incoming slags.
Oh well, yeah. Let's get him first, then we can chat about that.
Alright.
I mean, this is actually an interesting one. Is like, just these areas, like, the density, the respawn rates. Like, this is intended for a larger group, but is this the kind of farming that you would want to see, or what are your preferred grinding experiences in games from MMOs you've played? Also, just like, how do you feel the fighter plays from the melee perspective? Like, what are fighters that you've really liked playing in games, and how did you enjoy them more, or what do you like that you're seeing here that you didn't see in Fighters on other games, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one building on that a bit. One thing I really like is criticism from our fans. What's missing, what doesn't look so hot. We're all experienced developers. We could take the heat. It's fine. We're not gonna hurt our feelings. We just need to know what sucks.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the critical feedback loop is very important.
Numbers suck.
You know, one of the things that is super.
I will say this over and over again, but not being able to have any sort of logical reasoning around health bars or mana or whatever it is, and you're not able to easily calculate it like in your head, it sucks. Me reading the fighter at level 17 has 1364 HP is weird to me. At level 1 you have like some weird health numbers. I think it's too, like, when I look at like Lost Ark and I look at ESO and stuff like these games that are just awful with numbers that seem to have like no real reasoning behind it, or like rounding of it, so it's like impossible to calculate, sucks. Obviously you want to get away from like people just saying like just being able, I don't know how to put this. Easily readable numbers does not make bad gameplay. Is all I guess that's the way I want to put it. So if I'm hitting 3 damage versus 333 damage, 333 damage feels better. Sure. You're like, damn, big numbers. But it means quite literally nothing to me. I think the percentages on damage mitigation and healing reduction seemed pretty low on Rupture, but like I think that's fine. As long as like obviously we're gonna balance and stuff like that, but they seem fine as like target numbers for now, and then we can buff or nerf them as we go. But like just base health numbers, base damages, they seem out of nowhere, and maybe I need to look at character sheets more to figure out why. Like momentum makes sense, but it's like the health and mana just seems so out of left field, and no real indication as to why things cost so much or why somebody would have X amount of mana or HP. It makes the game unreadable to me. My eyes glaze over and I don't care. But obviously that's a huge part of like the game, right? In the combat system, especially when you're going to hide a lot of those factors. Having easily readable HP and mana will make the game more easy to predict, which will get rid of a lot of frustration, I think. If you can more easily predict like damage numbers around certain percentages at certain levels, it's going to make especially with this much PvP in the game, it's going to make the experience a lot more enjoyable. Because I can even see, like if I'm playing League of Legends and I click on my enemy, I can see exactly how much health they have. I'm not going to look at like my Q and see how much damage I have and then calculate the amount of armor that they have and be like, oh, I'm going to kill him. I still react based on feel. I think like if I'm playing Ezreal and I'm hitting a tank like Ornn or Malphite and I'm using my Q, I don't look at his health to go, okay, he's got 695 health with 150 armor. My WQER is going to do 550 damage, so I need to auto attack him 3 times in between in order to get the one shot. I just go, okay, his health is close to 25%. I don't have enough armor penetration to kill him. I'm going to hit him a few more times, and then I'm going to do my combo. You know? Like, I don't think having an intricate HP mana system is beneficial at all. I think you just need to make it more readable. And that was a really long tangent, but like, this has been something I've been saying for a long time, and I'll probably condense it so that I don't waste a bunch of the devs' times. But that is my one big qualm with this game. Another thing I've been seeing with Ashes of Creation is the mob density seems fine, but the difficulty doesn't seem to be there. Like, all these things seem relatively easy. Maybe it's because they're in a 4-man or whatever. But even when Steven's like out looting around or whatever, these mobs are very easy to kill. I'm trying to think of a way to put this. I feel like a lot of these things can easily be soloed. I feel like this area could easily be soloed if you play it right. And it should be hard to solo, but not easy to solo. And maybe I just haven't play tested it properly. Maybe they've tested it more than I have, and they say, no, there's no way you can do this as a solo person. But I feel like if you have enough skill and enough ability to take on these things, you're most likely going to be able to get through this area no problem by yourself. And I think that's fine. I think having areas to solo is good, and having enough skill to solo areas is also good. Every place that we've gone to, it's like, oh, you need like a larger party, but they're like doing it relatively easy with 4 people. Like, is that the balance? Are they over leveled? Are they like, I don't actually know, but the difficulty doesn't seem to be there. It's either the monsters aren't hitting hard enough, or their AI seems to be missing somewhere where their aggro tables don't seem to be like transferring very easily. That's what I'm noticing. Is like their aggro tables seem off. Like they're not there, they're not hitting. So that's one of my big things about at least mob difficulty. As far as archetypes and skills and stuff like that, Ranger, after seeing Fighter, Ranger seems lackluster. I was so happy with Ranger, by the way. But now Ranger seems like if there's ever a fighter, and there will be a lot of fighters after this showcase, if I'm ever running into a fighter, I'm dead. If I'm ever fighting a fighter, straight dead. There is no escape. There is no way for me to cleanse out or burst him down. There's no way for me to kite him. If the fighter is, half of a human being with opposable thumbs, they will 100% kill Ranger. They will kill Mage. They will kill Cleric. They will kill tanks. Because they will out DPS tanks before tanks can out CC them. They will out damage and out sustain and break the CC of any cleric before the cleric can overheal themselves. Mages have 1 blink ability, and good luck landing any of your other shit or kiting him out. That's not possible. And Ranger, yeah, same thing. Even with weighted arrows, your traps and your knockback and your airstrike and your jump back, there is no way that you are going to outkite this fighter. And on top of that, or outburst him down. I think he'll have way too much sustain unless you just get like a really good jump on a fighter and like can CC him before he can CC break. There's no way. Like, the triple gap close into daze is just awful. He could just leap strike into Blitz into like a daze, and then maim you, trip you, and if you dash away, like cleanse dash away, he can use his whatever the shift or the shift 3 is ability to lunge at you, your lunging attack. And then by the time that's all over, he could use blood transfusion, absolutely sustain, go into exert mode, reset his cooldowns, and leap strike at you again. There is no way to out kite a fighter. Not a single way. So that's my number one issue. I don't think fighter needs to be nerfed, but if you're going to give fighter that much mobility, you need to give other archetypes more mobility. That's the only thing I can think of. If a fighter is going to have 3 gap closers and CCable and CC, then you need to give other classes at least 2 mobility options. At least 2. And you can argue that the Rangers should just play around their traps and stuff like that, but like traps are so easily avoidable if like you're just paying attention. It's very hard to use traps in PvP combat. And I don't think traps are a very viable option unless you're just like god placement of the traps and stuff. So I don't know. That's kind of what I think.
Important anytime you're offering any critical feedback is to be very specific in the things that don't mesh well, or that you're looking to see improved. And a lot of that stuff validates already what we have intentions for as we move forward in development. But that validation is important, right? Because it means that you as the player are thinking about the same things that we're thinking about. And we can prioritize that stuff.
I do like the forms. I like the movement speed celerity one.
Which you can see here, we took to heart.
I like the ability that you can like change your playstyle based on which form that you're going to use, and form stance switching are really good skill expressions.
Half group, like how did the visuals look? Like the fighter effects feel and look really awesome in my opinion.
Cleave and Overpower look the same.
Them. How does that hold
they need to look different. Everything else looks great.
And also the cleric and the tank, like a lot of that stuff, how does it look, when you're looking at it from a very controlled, isolated standpoint, and how does that hold up or break down?
I think cleric needs to updates
archetypes together into the mix
to look more, have more visual clarity.
Ready for the final guy?
Because every heal just looks like a heal, and I can't tell which heal is what unless it's a consecrating wave.
Oh
Jesus!
I can't help it.
Where is the new one?
Right here.
Years of ninja looting experience, I guess.
Oh my god! This is the fighter showcase, not the rogue.
Sorry.
Gosh.
Is this him? All right.
Yes. Watch Keenan just loot it again.
Oh my god.
Whoops. There's his torso.
Okay. The flare blade fragment and the toy soldier torso. Yay. We have the torso now. Keenan has 2 torsos. I have a single torso.
I have 3.
Oh my god.
No way. He looted 3 torsos.
I'm gonna charge.
What do I do here?
You want me to do a sleep bowl?
Well, they're incoming.
Alright, I'm sleeping now, so we'll see which one I get. There are 2 shamans in the back. I'm gonna focus on them.
Okay. Also, monster HP is the same thing as like player HP. Just balance. It's so hard because like I don't have my hands on the game. So as soon as I hit Alpha 2, I will go more in depth on like HP values and like damage values and stuff like that, but seeing an enemy with 7,648 health is so weird. It's so weird.
Oh, he's tripped.
It's like almost if you just take it down a multiplier, like by like.
I think with the fighter looking as
instead
cool
of
and
it being like
spectacular as he does, it's a
325,
good
just have it
opportunity
be
to talk about
3.
how-
Or yeah, just have it be
how, like,
3
visually
or
interesting
30 too. Like
each ability should be.
or 33 damage. Like
And
if you want to
whether
round up, round
people
down,
think
I
it's
don't
too
care
much or
how
too
you do
little,
it, but it's like you're using like
whether
decimal
they feel like
numbers
it's about right for the gameplay experience that
to
they
try
enjoy.
to use the correct damage of like everything that is going into the system
visual
of
effects these
the
abilities
just
are
remove
a,
the decimal point and just lower it
playable
by a considerable
state.
amount.
We want to get your guys' feedback on that.
Because when the game scales up eventually in level, doing 1,000,000 damage is
Definitely wanna
cool,
let
but
feedback
it's
around, what people want out of group grinding areas.
awful to look
And
at.
We're developing a lot of those right now, and that would make sure that we're giving everyone what they want.
It's
or
not
at least
Lost Ark where
taking
you
it
just
into
see big dick
consideration before
damage
we're
and
building.
like the numbers take up your entire fucking
Like things
screen
like
with 30
respawn
million
rates,
damage.
density.
Do you
Density
wanna
seems
complete the
fine.
quest
It
here? You should have all the
seems
pieces. All right, so in your
um,
inventory, you should have all 4 if you looted Zags.
just not difficult enough, or the aggro tables seem off.
Put
That's
it
it.
together and see what happens.
Just right-clicking one of them.
Sure.
Reassemble the doll.
Reassemble the doll. The goblins must have broken up the toy soldier. If I have all 4 parts, I could try reassembling it.
Looks like there's
They
something
snapped
over
together.
here.
I have a reanimated toy soldier. That sounds like a Chucky doll or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Reassembled, not reanimated.
We just
Let's get rid of it.
introduced- Yeah, I was about to say.
We're gonna get respawned. Better turn it in.
Where are we
Yeah.
going? Where are we going?
Parkour.
We got a tombstone from the same guy.
Ooh, the Forlorn Heroes Memorial. Let me see here. We have a memorial for all the heroes that could not be buried and will always be remembered here. I placed the action figure by the memorial. I can feel a grateful presence in the air.
Which is a small
Suddenly
parcel.
noticed this- Hey, this was a graceful.
The
Suddenly
goblins
noticed
don't
a
seem to care.
small parcel near the memorial that I didn't see before.
Oh,
He gave me a glowing glint and some dim glint. And he had leftover currency from the ancient times.
Hopefully a lot of XP, right?
Yes, a significant number of experience. Delivered the toy. We have succeeded.
complete.
Yay. Look at that.
1500 XP is about 5%
Amazing.
at level 17.
Holy smokes. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. And the area obviously looks beautiful. The class plays remarkably well. Feels very good. Keenan, Brian, Trad, and all the goblins around us that are incredibly vocal. Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this. I know the community did. Everyone out there in the community, as you guys have seen, the fighter class is getting very close to ready for Alpha 2, along with all the other archetypes that you've seen. Give us your commentary. Give us your feedback. Talk on the YouTube channel, in the Discord, on our forums. What did you enjoy about the presentation today? Oh my gosh. These guys are
Relentless.
completely...
All right, we're gonna go back to this.
And we are back. I'm going to play the video in the background whilst we talk. We're going to grab some questions from chat throughout the... we've been watching you. Vacnar and Roshan, our wonderful community managers, we have like a party that's happening on Discord, and we've got a Twitch chat, so we've definitely been keeping an eye out for your guys' questions and trying to snag all of the details. So first and foremost, I think, Stephen, you wanted to kind of address performance, and I know that's something that we are working on drastically. Even with our PI users, we've been getting all the PC specs and stuff like that and working towards that.
Dwarven, by the way.
And the initial performance work that's being done right now is mainly on the network side, but what you guys are noticing on the FPS and the client side rendering that is stuff that we are going to be working on over the next few months. And you should see some very significant lift in those areas. Sometimes it can
Seems fine.
get a little bit unruly
It wasn't
while we're
awful.
in active development. Certain assets can get certain places that might need to be adjusted. We might be getting draw calls from across the map. You might have some cloth simulation that's just a little heavy on some hair. Like there's a few things obviously that are kind of low hanging fruit. That our performance teams will focus on. You'll see that get better, obviously, as we get closer to Alpha 2. So it is on the top of our minds. We do definitely address that. We recently released also some of our min spec and recommended specs for Alpha 2. You can take a look at that on the website.
You go to our support section and look at our KB articles, or our knowledge base articles. Sorry, I call it KBA, but our knowledge base articles, and just type in specs, and it should be there for you. So we have all that information already there. And keep in mind that is just for Alpha 2. We will be changing that as we move forward in Beta 1 and Beta 2 and then launch. We're obviously going to keep optimizing. To give perspective, most games are not worrying about performance and optimization this early on. Usually you're just developing like crazy, and then you do the performance stuff later towards when you're ready to open for beta, or the alphas these days, which are basically like beta ones. So just kind of keeping that in mind, because we're in open development, it's a little bit different for us, in development process. The next question we have here, the rest of them are more fighter based. The next question here is, will the Battlecry sound effect change based on your race and sex?
Yeah, and that's not just obviously for Battlecry, but any type of incantation is generally going to adhere to a certain style of vocal that's respective of the character customization options that you've selected.
Nice.
And you'll hear those audio voices in other things that we do in the future. Are any of these abilities changed based on weapon choice? So example, if I have a bow equipped, will Whirlwind be different based on that?
No. So in one thing that we've changed, which since Alpha 1, is we now have a dedicated ranged slot and a dedicated main hand offhand for melee slots. And so if you use an ability that is utilizing your ranged slot, you will spawn that weapon as you're using the ability, and then go back to your basic weapon selection toggle, and you can toggle back and forth between using the ranged weapon slot or the melee weapon slot for your basic weapon attacks.
Okay.
All right. And then the next one here is, what percentage of currently complete fighter abilities don't require a target? Something that folks noticed is that you were in action combat a few times throughout this as well. So I don't know how you want to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to play a little bit of action there. I saw some of the commentary about my playing. I just want to say that
I told you in advance there was going to be comments.
That's totally fine. Like, hey, I want you as the viewer to look and say, man, I could play way better than you, right? And then get in here and show it in Alpha 2. No, I'm just
I got
kidding.
you.
There was a couple times where I'm like, Steven, you were wandering around
absolutely.
every game, the boss was there.
I will.
Somebody on Discord today said that I'm a boomer. And I said, technically I'm a millennial, but I play like a boomer, so I guess I'm a millennial.
And they were like, just stop. I saw that in the Discord.
So good. Okay, what was the actual question? Oh, what percentage are templated attacks versus requiring a target?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say
off
the top of my head, I think there's probably 4 or 5 abilities right now that require a single target, and then I think the rest are either like on self or some template tonal attack or something.
Yeah, fighter's very AoE heavy. Will there be a limit to the stacks on bosses? So there was a lot of debuffs and what do we call it, status effects and things like that were being stacked onto things. And they were curious if there's limits to certain stacks. And also, can you, for instance, an example would be, can I one-shot a boss by stacking wounded for an hour?
No. Yeah, that's absolutely. There's diminishing returns. There are max stack counts.
It goes up to a max of
those are
100.
types of things that kind of depend on the target we're talking about. Bosses are obviously going to have the higher end of resistances and
Immunity.
diminishing returns and immunities. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So the intent is not to provide an infinite stack count. Absolutely.
And to follow up on that, just because I know there might be some subsidiary questions of that, which is, would those stacks be per or per person, or per archetype, or per the type of status effect?
Those would be predicated on the status effect type.
Yep.
So
That makes
not
sense.
So if you
respective
put burning
of.
on it, it would be everybody in the raid has to adhere to that limit.
That's correct. Yep.
Yep, that makes
Okay.
sense. That's a
And
good way to
then
And
balance
just
it.
to be
Go
clear,
ahead.
like that is absolutely something that we're going to be testing.
No, that's so
We've
good.
on the design team,
That's
we've
so
had a
good.
number of discussions with regards to how to surface kind of individual stack application versus like group and raid combat requirements there. There's a few different options that are available obviously to us. We've decided on a certain direction for the purposes of Alpha 2, but I believe we've actually prototyped a few of the different options just to get a feeling for how that is currently in our combat testing. Um, so yeah, just stay tuned for that. Obviously, Alpha 2 is going to have testing with that.
And
Well, what did
you
Bunner
guys
say?
will be either experiencing it or watching it in Alpha
When are you
2,
going
and so
to
definitely
showcase
share
the
with us
Mage
your
Warrior
thoughts.
with
We'll
Frost or
be
Fire on
making
your weapon?
changes and balancing things as we move forward.
Chill, boner,
How
chill.
will augments work to help a fighter hold aggro if their secondary archetype is a tank? And I know that that's like going deeper into secondary archetypes, but
Sure.
folks are curious about it.
I mean, just to give a general response there without getting into too much of the specifics, because obviously augments are something that we are still kind of outstanding in our development slash inspection there. The idea is that obviously threat generation is a core component of the tank archetype. So as a fighter, if you're selecting the tank as your secondary archetype, you're going to have certain spheres of augments that you can apply to your abilities to help maintain threat, to potentially even momentarily take aggro from a particular target in order to better service that role of the tank in combat. Now, what that will specifically equate to, I don't have an answer for you now. That's something that we'll be testing in the future. But know that the goal with providing those selections to the fighter will be to service a secondary threat generation, effect. Yeah.
And then the next one is momentum being generated while under the effects of Exert?
I don't think so.
Say that. I'm sorry.
Oh, is like
everybody.
I think it was.
Why are they
I
saying
know.
stare?
I don't know. Maybe someone rated us or something like that. Is momentum being generated while under the effects of Exert?
Is momentum being generated while under the? Yes, absolutely. That's part of the mechanic that is currently incorporated into Exert.
Oh,
is that
that's
you
broken.
can activate Exert while max momentum, and then depending on the effectiveness of you utilizing your skills and damaging targets, you can continue to keep that momentum up while under the effects of Exert to extend its lifetime beyond what the 6 seconds.
You need to
initially
reduce
We appreciate
ability
the
cooldown
raid.
reduction.
We always do from everybody. We
Absolutely.
just are also trying to be conscious of folks' time.
Probably
so
max
we don't always,
50%.
mention them. The next one is, will ranged archetypes have ways of gaining distance to compensate for fighter distance closers? Would you keep doing this until both players have cooldowns for their mobility? And I just want to say, we haven't balanced everything yet, so there will definitely
Right.
be adjustments.
So the question is, are there gap creators in addition to the gap closers that we see on the fighter? Or?
Yep.
It's
There
real
is.
ranged archetypes specifically, like your mage, your ranger,
Well, we
your
see.
more ranged
Will
folks.
they have? Yeah.
Will they have
I mean,
ways to gain distance to compensate for how well the fighter can get
No.
close?
You won't. There's no way.
Absolutely. That's the cat and mouse of these abilities, right?
Mm.
Like we've seen with the ranger, they have a backflip. They have their
Airstrike.
their
There's
airdrop ability. The mage has teleportation.
Nope.
You know, there are going to be abilities
There's no way
that
you
are
can
tit for
outrun the
tat,
fighter.
right? And
Nope.
managing the resource of those abilities and the timing of when you use them to either correlate to your opponent's use of those things, or to save them for yourself when you want to get away. Like, that's part of what makes the engagements dynamic and different each time.
Yeah, and if you go back and you watch like our mage archetype preview or our ranger specific archetype preview, you will see that they also have some abilities to slow, snare, keep their targets in place.
You are not out
and
kiting
also to get
a fighter.
themselves more mobile, especially
No
the
way.
ranger has a lot of mobility as well. So, and there will be balance. We're not in the balancing state. So obviously right now, every class we show, they're like, it's OP. But right now we're trying to find
It is straight up
So sometimes
OP.
it's a little OP, but the balance will come
Yes.
into play. And of course,
Absolutely.
you'll see
Great,
abilities
great
move around too. Some of
concept.
them
But hold
might
on.
move
I gotta
into
stop
sec-
this. Great design concept. Way too OP. Given the abilities of the other archetypes shown so far. And that's mostly due to mobility. And the amount of stuff that is in their kit. Yeah, there's no way a tank is outperforming a fighter in like damage reduction. Like the fighter right now is a drain tank, essentially. No amount of resistance is going to make a tank more tankier than a fighter is right now. And the amount of mobility and the amount of AoE and the amount of, I don't know, the damage didn't seem crazy. So that is one thing. Like, ranger damage seemed crazy. Maybe that's where it's balanced. If it's not doing a shit ton of damage, that's the only way I can see fighter in its current state being somewhat balanced. But I don't know, man. Seems real strong. Kit has a lot to it. If you're going to keep the kit, which I 100% think you should keep the kit. The fighter looks like such a fun class to play, and I think you should keep the kit. What you need to do is extend or buff other archetypes kits to be at least somewhat close to this, you know? You don't have to make it balanced. You have to give them options. Right now they don't have options. You can say that they have the blink. You can say that they have the disengage and the air strike and the weighted arrows. You could say that they have like sleep. You could say that they have like all these different things. But with Exert, the perk to cancel CC, the ability to leap that far, along with like build momentum and start doing ramping damage, it's a lot. It's a lot that other classes just don't have. And I think you just need to make the other classes better. If you're gonna make a fighter class that's this cool, you just need to make the other classes better. That's it.
Secondary archetypes or augments and things like that. So just keep that in mind. The next question is, do destructibles respawn? Because one of the things that you had said in there was like, oh, maybe they won't come back home. And like someone was like, oh, I wish that was the case. But yeah.
No, I was just being a little role play. Yes, destructibles. So, obviously not a lot of MMOs that we have all probably played are intending to provide a heavily destructible environments. These set pieces, like the different props you saw in this demonstration, the huts, the totem poles and stuff, those are unique to the goblin tribe, the Mukma tribe. And part of our dynamic world is that as population tables change, so too do the corresponding prop sets that are utilized within the area to better reflect that dynamic change of the world.
That's awesome.
And from a level design perspective, when you're curating these spaces for players to engage in combat, either in PvE or in PvP, there is an element of strategy that gets introduced when that environment has destructibility as well. So you can clear those spaces, make mobility a bit better serviceable for you, or vice versa. You could utilize, line of sight and interruption to kind of create interesting engagements. So those can be destroyed, and then they do respawn after a period of time. I believe currently that period of time is set to like 10 minutes for the respawns of those. Yeah.
And I think the community just got a bingo. They had the cat on the bingo card. I didn't make it happen. She came over here. Can we, for those of you who are new to our community, if you head on over to our Discord, our community always does they make up a little bingo card. It's cute. Can we
Has Steven even coughed
for
this one?
mobs, especially show them outside of combat?
Steven hasn't coughed yet. That's crazy.
When you were playing is that when you were roaming in the world, you didn't really see nameplates until you had them targeted.
Yeah, that was a setting that I had enabled. Just because. Oh, so first of all, to answer that question,
the immersion, you guys.
Right, I know. I'm sorry. I'm not. I do like the immersion. It helps fulfill the fantasy of the world, but I also like to see nameplates from time to time. Anyways, it is entirely customizable currently. That customization option is already in game.
Nice.
You can set nameplates to always appear. You can set it to only appear on targets. You can set it to only appear on targets that have taken damage. You can set it to only appear on targets that are aggroing you or your party members. You can set it for your allies, for yourself, for whatever. There's a lot of highly customizable options that are currently in the game.
All right, and we're gonna have color options too for certain things for colorblind folks too. I think it was one of the things that we've worked towards. So we're gonna try to give you guys a lot of customization. I think even in Alpha 2, you'll be able to move and adjust your UI around. So yeah, keep that in mind. The next question is, are mob sounds like the Goblin stock placeholder or Intrepid made audio? We got a lot of comments about people really digging the audio. So
yeah, it was really good.
Team. I know you guys work hard.
Yes, specifically that was Andrew, one of our audio designers. He recorded those Goblin sounds and implemented them into the game. Yeah, those are not stock. Those are our audio designer Andrew's his nightly routine before he goes to bed. He does those incantations.
Just screams into the ether.
Exactly. No, he did a great job on those. They were really good. I mean, obviously, and that's unique, right, to obviously certain faction types. The ones that can have language, having those kind of spell incantations, I think, add a lot of character. And he did a great job with those.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, of course, does the fighter have any specific weapon-dependent abilities? So, something that we are allowing people to do in Ashes of Creation is you can use any weapons and armor, but obviously there will be some that will be better for certain specs. So I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
Weapon-dependent.
Like you have to use a specific weapon for a specific ability.
I don't think so.
Fighter I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe the fighter has a weapon-dependent ability.
All these abilities look pretty generic to use.
Weapons with melee specific abilities, right?
Right. And even in those situations, I still think you can use the melee abilities. You just won't have a weapon equipped when you do them.
Just like punching or something.
Right.
They'll have to sort that out. But of course, those are kind of we'll be here all day if we ask and answer all of the questions. So definitely, whenever we put up our next Q&A for next month, make sure you put your questions in there if you have follow-up questions for us. But we also have a thread up on our forums. You can go check it out right now. It is regarding our fighter archetype preview. So if you do have feedback for us regarding the archetype, definitely go give us as much as you want over there. And it doesn't have to just be about the fighter. I think Keenan brought up some great questions in the the gameplay section, which was also, or might have not only been Keenan, but about like group play and the density in which we had mobs around there, and all of that kind of stuff. So anything that you saw in this preview, please feel free to share feedback with us, as our wonderful community managers will be going through everything. They read every single comment you guys make. Even our social media team, Peter goes through that and also provides anything that's additional. So we give them as much as we possibly can on that front in regards to what y'all are thinking and how you're feeling about things. So that they don't have to read all of it. They can focus on making the game. And with that, we'll move over to studio.
By the way,
updates.
just to be clear, I want to give another shout out.
Yeah,
Tori
go for it.
also worked on the Goblin vocals as well. So it was Tori and Andrew. They split those up a bit. So those of you who are loving those sounds, big props to Tori and Andrew on that. It was,
Good job, guys.
definitely immersed me when I was
let's
playing
get
through.
some claps in chat, some hearts. We appreciate it. Next up, let's talk a little bit about studio stuff. We have a lot of roles that are up for hiring.
Yes,
we know
we
that
do.
the industry is crazy right now.
Absolutely.
You went to GDC. Talk a little bit maybe about that as well.
Yeah, I did go to GDC.
Yeah.
I went to GDC. I tried to fit all of my meetings into just 2 days so that I could get back to the studio as quickly as possible. So I was there for Tuesday and Wednesday. I did announce while I was there on Twitter that I would sit down in that St. Regis lobby from like 9 to 10 on Tuesday and 4 to 5 on Wednesday. And boy, did we have a turnout of people. That was a lot of fun to chat with everybody and where they are in their careers and their passion for Ashes and MMOs in general. I had a great time chatting with a lot of different people. Went on to the expo floor Wednesday in the afternoon for about an hour and got to meet just a lot of people who came up and were aware of Ashes, and that helped recharge my motivation batteries, which was great. We are hiring. We have some lofty hiring goals over the next 60 days.
Nice.
And you guys in the community who are watching and help, spread the word for Ashes and the company, you already have done an amazing job. I told you the story about some interviews I had where their gamer friends, after they had been laid off, said, "Now's your chance. Get over to Ashes," right? I would call upon you once again to help spread the word. We have got, I think, like 8 or 9 design positions that are open currently. We have a number of production positions. We have a number of engineering positions. And Intrepid is a stellar place to work, and the project is a very fulfilling and exciting one. So as you are aware of people in this industry that you look up to or that you admire, or whatever it may be, send them our way, because
and some of those roles on there, we're hiring for multiple people of those roles. So if you're like,
right.
you're like, but I only see 3 there, it's because we're hiring like 4 of that one role or whatever it might be. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it is. We need a lot of people to make this project. It is a lofty one.
It can guard the
Yes.
dumpster.
I think that's all I had. Things that I want.
There ain't nothing trash about Ashes, kid.
Think of, Steven?
No, I think the only other thing that I would love to touch on is, the team is very heads down right now, working towards getting what we want to get ready for Alpha 2 ready. And I would say that, we have a wonderfully beautiful, glorious community who have stood with us many steps of the way on this journey. And it is a journey that's not for everyone. Watching a game that's in development, constantly being teased every month about the product you want to play but can't touch yet, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That takes a
Patience.
different level of patience, right? That not all of us are probably accustomed to. And sometimes that patience can wear thin, and that's fair. But what I can tell you is that that patience is going to yield something, I think, distinct in our genre. What we're creating with this game, and it's been a long road. if I would quote Star Trek Enterprise and their intro song, "Getting from There to Here." I'm sorry, but anyways, it's been a long road, and there's still a long road ahead of us. But when I go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning and spend my waking hours, everything Ashes related,
One second.
what I think about is that execution. And I think about what it would mean on a launch day of either Alpha 2 or a launch for the game where we didn't do what we needed to do in order to make the game good enough. And I'm not a perfectionist, right? I don't believe in waiting until a product is perfect, but I do believe in waiting until the product is good enough. And that is always my Northern Star. That's my guiding light when I think about the decisions that need to be made, regarding production, regarding marketing, regarding, development and design decisions. Like that is my guiding light, always from the player's perspective. So I just want to impress upon you all in the audience is that, when we hear our friends, our fellow MMO gamers talk about, wanting to either see something now or, hear something now or, whatever that might be, take it with the understanding that you can help communicate to them. Intrepid is trying to do things differently. And that's okay. That is a good thing. That is what this genre needs is, in my opinion, this level of engagement, this level of transparency, I think is a very important one. And it's been nice to kind of help pioneer that a bit for the genre. And I'm happy to see other projects take that on.
It's not an easy one to do.
No, it didn't. I had a couple of discussions at GDC.
Yeah,
with some other project
developers
directors
thinking about doing this. It is not
absolutely
an easy
and
feat,
it is not, because at the end of the day, like, this takes a level of investment and a bit of an atypical approach to development that allows us to stand up this kind of development update process every month, right? And that investment is significant, but the reward is that we get a community along the way who is also invested in ensuring that the product outcome is what the community wants. And I think that cost is worth it, obviously. But what I want to say is that when you come across, fellow MMO gamers who are impatient or who, might not say the nicest things about the product, that's okay. It is okay, right? Let them come back and take a look when we do
They'll
get
be
to
back.
Alpha 2 or when we exactly correct. So don't jump down the throats. Just be prepared, open arms, smiling faces, and as we continue to stay on the road towards development, if you build it, they will come. That is a lifelong message I take home.
If you've followed us over the years, you've seen our progress. Like, we continue to make progress. That is one of the beautiful things about having open development. The hardest thing is keeping that trust and building it, right? We understand that we're going to make mistakes. Everyone does, right? But it's how we communicate those and how we share that information with you guys. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here with us and motivating and providing us feedback. And, feedback does take time to fix and iterate on. So that is another thing too. So just keep those things in mind. And normally, folks are developing MMOs, 10, 15, 20 years in darkness. So they don't have that continual feedback. And you're not sitting there waiting for 10, 20 years, alongside of developers. And early on in development, you have a lot less staff because you're not, doing the nitty gritty. And as you get further along, you're staffing up, you're working towards bigger pieces, and that's when things start moving fast. So just thank you for your patience and continued patience and patience with other people who maybe don't have it.
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll move over to our wonderful art update. We have, you guys got to see the Renkai in game too, which is cool. We've shown the models before. But we did show the heavy armor in game, and last time we showed you the medium armor for Carfin, and this is the light armor, and this is the medium. So these are all the Carfin
Those are
armors that you've been seeing
sick.
and the weapons and stuff like that. Those are all attainable in-game things from Carfin. So get excited.
That
for
mask is dope.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Steven didn't want to put his helmet on in game.
I know. I was really enjoying the orc.
Mohawk.
Yeah, mohawk.
Just hide your helm, homie.
I know.
And then the next one here is a turntable of that, which looks amazing.
That does
So
look
good.
really good.
I love the mask. I wonder if you can
Good
wear the
work,
mask
guys.
without the
Oh,
hood.
I didn't put the names.
The
on
hood part.
I'm sorry.
Oh no.
It was a
I
bit
think
of
this
a
I think this
crazy
might have
week.
been I think this might have been Eli. Did Eli work on this?
I normally
Eli
do
probably or
grab the
Manny. I don't know.
names.
Sure.
And then Nikuan, we are now sharing with you. This is the starting gear for the Nikuan.
Oh yeah, the Nikuan models and the starting gear.
You've seen
Yeah.
the
They look so good.
concept of the models. This is like a 3D. These are 3D models now.
It's
With their
dope.
starting
The
gear.
actual-
I like all the
We've been
tattoos.
starting to see some of the starting gear from all the other races, so we've been sharing them as we're moving along. And then
Big
we've got
stout.
some cool VFX that
Ooh.
are being worked on.
Physical attack, magic attack,
Some of these you might have seen in game, or you will soon.
physical res, magic
We
res.
always go through
Okay.
different,
I do
iterations
like
of
that.
them.
The visual clarity between.
No, those are those I believe are effects for the God Spike and the
Yeah, the
the
Torn
Essence
God
Fissure.
Spike. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
actually have the Torn Spike. I was going
Oh,
to save
yeah?
it for last, but I realized I should have put the VFX with that after. So we'll just share that next here.
Okay.
These
Okay.
are some of the concepts for them. Obviously, this is not the end model, but do you want to talk a little bit about what the Torn God Spike is for, or just leave them?
Sure.
I think you tease people. They're
Uh-oh.
like, what does that mean?
Yeah, no, I talked a little. This is something you're going to be seeing
We
next
talked
month.
about it in our Discord.
Yeah, we talked about, the Tauren Empire was an ancient empire on Vera before the Aelins and the Pyrrhian empires got stood up. There was an empire of half elves that their demise came under the rule of King Atrax, and the God Spike was a particular interesting artifact that could help to initiate essentially this essence fissure that would spawn in certain areas.
Okay.
And would be able to kind of sap into and siphon out the essence that laid within Vera. So not to get in too much detail, but it is an interesting ancient artifact that can be used as part of certain war declarations that we may get some insight to in the coming month. That was run by cat.
Yeah, they both just ran in the room. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you're gonna get to see
The
that
artifacts. That's pretty cool.
next month. So get some. I want to hear some theories
Artifacts
of
are gonna
what you
be
think next
OP.
month's topic is gonna be.
That's it.
And the next thing that we
That's
have
that.
here is some little spiderlings
Ooh, gross.
that are looking adorable.
I hate
with a big
spiders.
spider.
Give me a little
So apologies
Oh,
for
look at the
anybody who
little
doesn't like
spider.
spooters.
That's me.
I won't keep them up on screen too long.
Little
I know we've got a lot of
arachnoid
people out there who are
phobic.
like,
Don't worry
"I
about
like
that.
Spiders.
Don't worry about
It's
that.
okay, you could defeat them. And then we have
They're in game.
some
They can't hurt
concept
me.
art pieces. We have some work that's being done towards Academy nodes,
Ooh.
Alien highways,
Sick.
Alien ruins, and the Kalar walls.
Ow.
Those look great.
They look amazing.
And of course, you guys have seen a lot. I know the cats are yelling in the background. You guys have seen some of these concept pieces in the past with
Oh
us.
my
and then we've shown
gosh.
you the in-game world.
They're
And a lot
so
of people are like,
good.
it looks like the concept. Our
That's
artists are
so
amazing.
sick.
We try to give them a little showcase every week.
Nodes are
over
going to
and
be
up,
so
I'm sure.
dope.
And with that, I think we'll just wrap up with our Q&A as per usual. And I will play some more of the fighter preview whilst we do that. Maybe I'll move
Alright.
to the in-game part where you guys are fighting all the monsters.
Let's see what
answer questions.
what
Um, So
What
the first
questions we have?
we have some spicy ones. No, they're not too spicy.
Oh, spicy? Spicy.
Well, maybe some of them are spicy.
Wow.
Harry Glenn wants to know about buffs. Will there be long-term individual or group buffs unique to certain archetypes and classes? And this is in lieu of, when you think about general rating where you go and you're like, I'm going to put this hour-long buff on somebody. Are those types of things going to be something that you're going to have experience? Like, everybody group up, we're going to rate, we're going to buff up.
Yes, those are definitely an intended experience. I think actually though our longest buff right now is intended to be 30 minutes. So I'm not sure we have hour-long buffs.
Gotcha.
If we do have hour-long buffs though, they would likely come in the form of edibles well, excuse me, it's probably wrong term. Food.
Rations. The chat's just like laughing.
It's too good.
It's too funny.
Time to get high, guys.
Falcus wants to know about naval risks. What's the repair cost for destroyed ships and components? Is it risky to venture into the ocean knowing repairs might be costly, or is it manageable enough to encourage frequent exploration?
No.
And this is coming from people seeing our caravan exploration stuff.
Sure. Yeah, like most things in Ashes, there is risk. And traveling across the seas is not a easy adventure. So when you suffer either damage or destruction, obviously those will each contain different levels of risk. The damage will be much more manageable if actively attempting to repair that while at sea, which you will have options to do on ships, is actively repair. Your crew can actively repair if they have the appropriate materials. But if you do, unfortunately, suffer some major mishap and are completely destroyed, the cost will be great in reconstituting your vessel.
All right. The next one is from OTR Oder that wants to know about coastal node ZOIs. Will the deep ocean be encompassed into the zone of influence of coastal nodes? I feel like we've talked about this before, but it might have been with PI.
I'm sorry, repeat that last part of it again.
Will the deep ocean be encompassed into the zone of influence of coastal nodes? So the coastal nodes, will the deep sea be part of that? And I think we've said no before, but
yeah, no, the deep sea, while it exists technically as part of a zone of influence, it does not contribute to those coastal node areas. So the coast does, not the deep sea, but it is primarily the land environments that are going to be contributing to the node's experience grant.
There you have it.
And that obviously,
curious about it.
And that obviously might change, right? We'll see kind of how that plays out during Alpha 2.
And then we've got Leonardo, who wants to know about server culture. Knowing that there won't be PvP or PvE only servers, how will new players find a server that fits their playstyle, culture, expectations? And I don't think we've ever said there won't be PvP or PvE only servers, but I think that's what people are under the impression.
We haven't, I don't think we've officially said that, but there won't be PvP or PvE servers.
Perfect.
The intended design
Good job.
is that PvP events are the primary method by which consensual PvP exists for players. They opt into those. And then non-consensual PvP is governed through our flagging system, which is highly disincentivizing players to engage in non-consensual PvP through the act of corruption gaining. So the question was, how will players get to choose their PvP experience? Is that what
yeah, well, if you're new and let's say maybe you're a PvE primary player, how will I know which server to join? Like what culture is going to be best for me?
I see. Ashes is a PvX game. And so in that regard, your ability to wholesale disconnect from the PvP elements of the game are likely not going to be entirely successful. Now, does that mean that you can reduce your exposure to PvP? 100%, right? And there are multiple play paths and progression points that players can elect instead to be more PvE focused. But by the sheer nature of risk versus
You tell
reward,
him,
and
Steven.
risk including not being able to predict how other players might impact your gameplay, that is an element of the innate risk that exists in the multiplayer environment of a PvX setting. So, not everybody is going to like that. And we accept that, right? And we're not trying
You're
to
entitled
build
to your
a game
opinion.
that everybody is going to like,
It's not for
because
everybody. It's a niche.
doing that, absolutely, doing that is not going to be successful because there are just people with different interests. And we accept that, and we're very kind of on the nose about what we're trying to achieve, right? The idea is not to create a gank fest, is not to create a grief fest. That is not what PvX is. And so because of that, we have certain mechanisms and systems that govern the way players engage in PvP, and majority of those are opt-in. But there is always that element of risk that's governed by the flagging system. And so if you're interested in that, I would take a look at the wiki and look up what flagging is and look up what corruption is. My experience tells me, and my expectations of the system are, that they will significantly reduce a player's exposure to non-consensual PvP, but that risk is always going to be present to some degree.
Correct.
My recommendation, make friends.
That's right.
Get in a guild. It's an MMO. It's not meant to be a solo playing experience. Not that you can't.
right.
it's just that's more risky. So if you like
Get
risking it for the
good.
biscuit, that's
True,
your
capture.
call.
True.
And then Lineker and Emily kind of were asking about biome development. Will we see other biomes outside of the Riverlands? I think we've seen a lot of the Riverlands lately.
Sure.
And then what biomes are planned for the start of Alpha 2?
So as we get closer to Alpha 2, I will have a better answer for the expected biomes at the start of Alpha 2. We have probably completed the assets for about 7 biomes, I think, roughly.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we're talking about terrain, we're talking about foliage, different tree types, we're talking about geological features and different types of stone work and whatnot. From an environment standpoint, biome creation is more advanced, but biomes are like, they're essentially zones, right? And zones require more to be complete than just the environmental assets. They require content creation. That's point of interest development. Those are environmental sets that are needed to sell kind of the ancestral ruins. There is narrative and quests that are required to populate a zone. There are creatures and creature design that's required to populate a zone. So if we're talking about biomes from an environmental perspective, there's been a lot of progress made towards our overall biome
I think it's more
intent.
the question here is really, when will they see those biomes?
Well, we've shown the desert biome. They've seen the jungle biome in Alpha 1. They have seen some of our tabletop mountains. We have shown obviously the Riverlands. We will continue to show those biomes in the future at some point, right, when they're ready to show. And when it comes to what's expected at the beginning of Alpha 2, that's something that when we are certain of what that will be, because development can be fluid, right? We're in the progress of development.
Right.
So, I would say stay tuned for when we're ready to share what that's going to be.
Yeah, and I think on the front of what you can expect from Alpha 2 and the guide for that, we will put out an article that kind of gives you an overview of what features and systems and areas will be available. We've done that before. We've given you like a map and the keybinds and all of that jazz. So we will do that again for you guys again in the future. So just stay tuned. And as we get closer to Alpha 2, you're probably going to see more of that information coming to play. The next one here is from Tyranthraxis, and they want to know about ship and combat collision. How will naval combat and raiding work if ships cannot be moved or blocked?
How will naval combat work if ships cannot be moved or blocked?
Yeah.
Ships can be moved. You're talking about like collision, like pushing ships in the different directions in the water?
Yeah, I think that's what they mean.
Okay. Yeah. The intent is that we adhere to some semblance of real physics feelings, right, with regards to these vehicles. And so ships do have the potential to be pushed in different directions and out of the way for each other. That is an intended collision experience that we want ships to have, but it should come with significant risk and potential damage to the vessels themselves.
Yep.
All right. And then
That
the next one
seems
here is
really,
from
really
Pucky
awesome. That you can just like go
1989, and they wanna
ram a
know
ship
about
and just
commission
damage
credit. Will
both
one
ships.
get credit for quest objectives or for completing a commission when in a raid? We talked about, yes, if you're in a party, you can get a commission credit. But what about if you're in a raid?
Oh, I see. That's a good question. And I think in the majority of cases, if we do allow progression within narrative systems like a quest or commission, I think that's something that's going to be distributed based on the number of raid or party participants, right? So killing a particular monster is not going to get everybody a check mark on their progress towards killing 20, right? It's going to be one person's going to get that progression, and then it'll continue to the next person. And so
Oh,
on
okay,
and
so it'll
forth.
just queue up.
If we're talking about some quest lines like story arcs or events
That's smart.
that have phases or that have overall participation by many members, then that progress can be shared at a party raid level. So there's different settings depending on what objective there is within a quest. Some of them will share, some of them will be distributed.
Right. And then APOC wants to know about shipbuilding. So if we have a lot of naval questions. Y'all are very curious about naval stuff. Shipbuilding. So
Absolutely.
if we don't have a coastal node leveled up, are we SOL on building and launching ships? So are we just like helpless in that? So if we don't personally have a coastal node set up,
The harbor.
can we not build and launch ships?
No, you can absolutely build and launch ships. Coastal nodes are not where ships get built and launched. Harbors are where ships get built and launched. And harbors are essentially dilapidated points of interest that progress when a node nearby, coastal or not, adopts that point of interest or that harbor. Then the node can contribute towards building up the harbor, and players who may not be citizens of that node can still go to that harbor and access its services.
Okay.
And then we are in our penultimate question here. We're almost to the end. So thank you all for staying with us. Apolphis wants to know about active blocking spells. How will active blocking function when it comes to spells? Will players be able to parry spells? We talked about active blocking in melee occurrences, but they're curious about more spell-oriented.
Hold on one second. Before we get to that question, let me give some clarity. So the question I saw from Ashes of Nerer was, so a group of 8 will have to kill 8 times 20 goblins. No, in regards to, like, it depends on the objective. If it's a kill objective, then being in a group of 8 or potentially in a raid, everyone will get credit for the kill. If it's a drop that's required, like a quest drop off of a loot container or a monster, and one person grabs the quest reward, not everyone will get the quest reward from that individual drop. So just want to clarify,
Unless
it depends on the
necessary.
Correct, exactly. I just want to clarify, it depends on the objective, right? The intent is not to gimp healer classes or support classes, from getting those things. Yeah. Okay, sorry. What was that, Margaret, the last question?
No problem. It's good to clarify. How will active blocking function when it comes to spells? Will players be able to parry spells?
Active blocking. So yes, it depends. So active blocking is a part of our universal skill tree. And active blocking, depending on what piece of equipment you have equipped, some will be catered towards magic in blocking, and some will be catered towards physical damage in blocking. So if you have a physical shield, you're likely going to have little efficacy against active blocking against a spell. However, if you have a sigil equipped, which is essentially the arcane variant of a shield, and you actively block, then you might have good efficacy against the spell.
All right. And our final question for this development update is from Livu, who wants to know about mount use cases. Will players need multiple mounts on their skill bar for various purposes like immunity, gliding, combat, and escaping, or will the gameplay be more focused on using just one mount? I'm really excited for us to show mount abilities in the future because I know that's something that's on the plate.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the intent is that mounts have varying abilities, and it's expected that you will have a number greater than one of mounts available to use. Now, whether or not that number is influenced or governed by a stable system, that is something that is still in active design and development. It is likely that you will not be able to carry every mount you own and be able to use them all at the same time. There will probably be some governor to that, and it will likely be serviced through a default building that exists in every node, which is the stables. And then to the second part of that question, is it intended that mount abilities are providing a matrix of choices, options, or strategy to the player? The answer would be yes. Because we have these abilities and different stat blocks that are governed through the animal husbandry system, the desire is to make sure, like any other piece of equipment or itemization choice, that strategy is carefully considered when determining the appropriate mount use.
All right. And that gets us to the end. We made it. It has been a very long one for us all. So thank you so much, everybody, for bearing with us, sticking around. Hopefully you had lots of snacks. Maybe got a potty break in there. But of course, we do want to mention again to head on over to our forums, forums.ashesofcreation.com. Give us your feedback. We have a thread over there already for the fighter archetype preview. If you have any thoughts, definitely share them with us. We will be compiling that and sharing that with the development team. And of course, thank you so much to our development team. Everybody has been kicking butt, but of course, an extra special thank you to Trad, Brian, and Keenan for joining us for this specific showcase. And of course, Stephen, for your time. I know this is a lot for you. He's been a busy bee. And of course, that we thank you all for being here. And, we hope that you have another wonderful, safe, and healthy month as we kick butt and work towards our next live stream that's coming up here. And of course, internally, we have some big sprints that are coming up, which is very exciting for us. We are preparing our butts for Alpha 2, and I'm telling you, we've been prepping a lot and getting a lot of things in place, and even some polish time for us. So that's been a big thing for us, is making sure that you guys have a great experience, and lots of performance work, as Stephen had noted before. Of course, we will have the video up on the 4K video will be up on YouTube today, so stay tuned for that. And of course, we will have the full development update for you up tomorrow, pending YouTube cooperates with us. Make sure that if you want your comment spotlighted, to make a comment on that development update video and leave a comment there. Make sure that it shows you publicly as a subscriber, so that when we pick random, it shows you up there. And of course, follow us in all the places. We are Ashes of Creation, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the places, Snapchat. We try to post everywhere. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you all next month for another update.
Woo! Bye, everybody.
Bye, Stephen. Bye, Margaret. All right, so I was coming up with things in the background. Let's go Ashes of Creation Wiki. We're gonna look at this. Classes actually is where I want to go, or I should say archetypes is where I really want to go. Yeah. Uh-oh, is it down? Okay. We are adding the fighter video and live stream to the wiki. We appreciate your patience. Cool. We have 2 supports, 4 damage rolls, an arcane dash rule, and a tank for tank. Okay, so Bard, I don't think they released that. Skills/abilities, 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 skills/abilities. Oh, this is hard. Yeah, so they don't really have the actual abilities here. That. But maybe these links are going down here. Anyways, we'll just stick with this. So they have arcane empowerment. This will detect camouflage, so mages will be good against detecting camouflaged. Then they have damage. Damage could be a slow or a stun. Blink is their TP. This is their mobility. This is a channel that casts Blizzard in a proximity around them. Chain Lightning does damage. It can arc around certain things. Cone of Cold is a slow and can chill an enemy. Fireball damage. Fissure. This can stagger, which is a CC ability. Frostbolt, which is obviously a chill. Lightning Strike damage. Magma Field damage. Meteor damage. Quake. This seems like stagger / CC. This applies to stripped and staggered. Then they have their mana shield, and then they have sleep. So Mage has sleep, Quake, Frostbolt, and Cone of Cold, Blizzard. And they had one other thing, Fissure. Okay. Now we have passive abilities, does all this. Ranger. We have Airstrike. Barrage does damage. Bear Trap, that's a CC. Call the Wind, increases move speed and cleanses. Okay, that's the cleanse. Then we have Disengage, which was written down as backflip over here. 1 second. I'll show you in a second. Physical mitigation, physical penetration, and crit damage. Barbed will do bleeding, staggered with concussive, and weighted will snare or slow. Okay, so it says snared, but I guess snared is slowing. It's not like a root, like I'm used to thinking. Weighted arrows and I guess concussive arrows. This will stagger. Okay. Lightning reload, more damage. Reducing mitigation. Okay, these are the different marks. Damage. Vine field. Snaring. And slash slows. And root. Targets that have more than 10 seconds of snare duration are rooted. All right, if you're standing in this for more than 10 seconds, you're crazy. If a target is lasting more than 10 seconds, that's insane too. So Vinefield seems weak as hell, to put it lightly. Tanks. Okay, tanks have Absorption Field, Aegis, Ancestral Bolas, Grapple. Here, I guess. Grapple. Aegis will, it's basically a cleanse, it looks like. Dispels all negative effects on the caster. This is just staying alive, staying alive. Shield Assault, I believe. Is a real one here. Bashes target with shield. Slam. Another one here. And Tremoring Bellow. Another one. Okay, we have all these. And that's basically all we have right now. Where's the cleric at? Cleric is here. Okay. Barrier, blessed weapon, castigation, change of restraint. Okay, so we have here condemn. These are all heals. Okay, so Wings of Salvation is actually what I called Phoenix Dash. So we're going to call this Wings. Okay. So let's compare. All right. What we just saw with the fighter. So it's still being built here. We can actually go back to this video here. I can kind of remember everything. So they have Blitz. Blood fusion, damage, plus mana regen with attacks, or wait, HP, plus mana regen, based on 50% of damage output. We had 3 different forms, which give movement speed. Form of celerity, movement speed buff, ferocity attack speed buff, and fluidity, which is like a tank stat, I believe. Crippling strike here is a daze, and then they had rupture, which is damage mitigation, breaker, and wounds target for reduced healing. They had 2 abilities that build momentum, which is a Cleave and Overpower, and then Cataclysm, staggers, stagger, and then also Maim, which staggers / trips. And I don't know what that one at the end here is.
There you go. Now run.
Now, obviously, utilizing the resource with lunging assault, because
Nope, freely.
I guess there's also Exert, which is CC break and steroid. Okay. Don't.
Reposition.
Maim, Battlecry, Whirlwind.
Oh, two.
More of a back and
Do you
Like
remember
long-
what a 0 is?
those
I don't
really
remember
more-
what a 0 is.
Mobility skill here. Talk
Yeah.
me about.
this is it's used.
Trying to
Oh,
see if he ever
cool.
mouses over it.
So cool. I love that. The ability.
I don't think he does.
Built up.
I don't know. Anyways, we'll just go with this. Okay. So we want to talk about mobility here. All right. So when we talk about mobility, we have to think about base movement speed, sprint speed if we have it, dodging, blocking, slowing, stunning, staggering, trips, and anything else along those lines. That would be like snares, roots, whatever. For the tank, we have shield assault, which bashes the target with a shield. I believe that's a small dash. We have ancestral bolas. That's a slow grapple. Stagger / slow. Aegis is a cleanse, so it allows the tank to break out of these things. Right. We have slam, which staggers. Tremoring blow staggers, and something I thought of to grant more mobility. This is not actually in game or designed yet. Is like a battle rush. Tank sprinting towards an enemy at an increased movement speed, and if you come into contact, maybe you trip, stagger, or give some sort of debilitating movement speed debuff to the target. Why? Because tanks are essentially immobile at the moment. They have one thing to break them out, and all these other things are to keep enemies at their feet, but the problem is getting the enemies to their feet, you know, and getting them in their range to attack. So tanks are very immobile and have no way of really attempting to tackle a fighter. The reason why I'm coming up with this, by the way, is because fighters are so mobile, you have to literally buff the other archetypes because one, I don't want to nerf fighter. Fighter looks so cool. It is literally one of the best archetypes I have seen come out, if not the best. It is definitely an overloaded kit, which is easy to it's easy to fix an overloaded kit by overloading other kits. You don't have to nerf the archetype because the archetype is badass. But if you buff other kits to have counterplay, especially in like 1v1 PvP scenarios is kind of what I'm talking about. If you don't give the option for counterplays in other archetypes become basically useless when it comes to skirmishing levels of PvP. And I don't think something like Battle Rush will break the game or make things look way too clunky, but it gives them an option to exist in the game. Mages, you got Blink, and this is pretty much it, to be honest with you. The only way that you're getting away from this guy is Blink, okay? Cold, Blizzard, this basically roots you in place. Cold helps. Frostbolt can maybe help you kite. Quake, Fissure, these may help. Sleep probably has too long of a cast time for you to get it off before the fighter is able to catch up to you. The Cleric, God bless Clerics, you have 20 healing spells, but you've got Condemn, Chains of Restraint, which will help you stagger, and Wings of Salvation, which will help you dash to an ally, but or a non-combatant NPC. But in PvP, you're basically stuck. You are even more immobile than the tank is. You are you're dead meat at this point. I don't really know of a way to prevent clerics from like getting out of this spot. Clerics are the only class at the moment that really grants any type of healing outside of fighter, which fighter actually gives a lot of drain tank abilities with the blood fusion here. And you can like combo it up with Exert. You can use like Rupture to even counter clerics in a way. You're kind of the hard counter, or you get hard countered by fighters if you're a cleric player. There is no stopping you at all. If you're a fighter and you're trying to fight a cleric, that you're just gonna be able to win that 100% of the time. Actually, if you're a fighter in its current state, you're able to fight any of these things and win 100% of the time. So that's why I'm trying to come up with different ways that like allow you to counteract or counterplay the fighter. Mages, you can try your best to sleep, fissure, cone of cold, frostbite, and quake your enemy, but by the time he leap strikes onto you, and then he blinks away, and then you do a blitz, there's no way to stop the fighter from killing you from this point. Because he'll just leap strike, you blink away, he'll blitz at you into a crippling strike, which will daze you. He could use his form of celerity to stay on top of you while you're dazed. And then from there on, he can just do his weapon combos into absolute staggering CC, which you will trip and fall and die before you can even think about getting sleep off. And if you're using Frostbolt and Cone of Cold, good luck. He can exert, CC break, any of that, and also just keep running at you. And also, if he really loses you and you do a really good job at kiting with all this stuff, with your quake, your fissure, all that stuff, oh, guess what? He lunging strikes towards you. So you don't really get a way out. So he's got 3 forms of gap closing, and you've got none. You've got one, technically. You have less mobility than a ranger. Hopefully your damage makes up for it, because you're one of the squishy classes, and that fighter is gonna destroy you in an instant. Okay. Rangers, also, you're probably in the same boat as mages. However, you do have a little bit more options to get away. But there's no way you are outrunning this fighter, unless you have some sort of mechanic that allows you to build up move speed with basic attacks, with like your ranged weapons, like in your weapon combo. That's the only way you're getting away, honestly. Your disengage, he could blitz you, and you could disengage, and then from there, even lunging strike is probably a good enough distance to catch up to you before he and crippling strike you. Even if you use airstrike, you generally don't want to be using airstrike defensively, but if you absolutely have to, you can do it. And if he gets snared, guess what? He is lunging strike, or he is leap striking towards you, and you are just dead meat from that point. Even with your concussive arrows, even with your weighted arrows, if you perfectly put down a trap, you cleanse the crippling strike, and you use your vine field, unless you kill him before he gets on top of you, which almost is impossible, because guess what? If you root him or stagger him or anything like that, guess what? He goes exert, because he's already built up enough momentum at this point to be able to do that. His blood fusion and exert can happen at the same time. He can build up momentum as he's crippling, striking you and damaging you, and getting you without you really having any options to get away. Not only is the fighter class just a complete berserker archetype that can self-sustain, do enough CC, and has a lot of gap closers, but just does a ton of damage built into the kit. I think fighter is definitely the most OP class in its current form until these other classes get the proper buffs to mobility or self-sustain of some sort. This is the only way to do it. Bards, I was thinking of a graceful step. Outside of that, you could have some sort of slumber or sleep like the mages have, but then you're crossing archetype abilities. We haven't seen anything of the Bard yet, but Bard probably doesn't have too much mobility. And I think Rogue should have the absolute most. But outside of these three things that I thought up of, this is by no means anything that Intrepid has stated is going to actually be in the game, but I was thinking of a shadow step where you can teleport to a location, leaving behind a smoke screen and becoming camouflaged. Poisons for slows, crippling strike for snare, daze, slow, or stun, or something like that. Or which is basically what the fighter already has. The fighter has this daze, so maybe it's like a daze. I'm really against rogues having stuns. I think stuns, regardless of game, suck. Stuns just stop players from having fun. And I think not having fun as like I'm looking at Lost Ark specifically. If I am CC locked for 10 seconds because I don't have my super armor up or I don't have my dash up, I am just not having fun. I'm just not playing the game. I am literally hands off keyboard, hands off mouse, and there is no way for me to interact with the gameplay, and that feels bad. I do like that most of the stuff that Intrepid is doing are slows or snares and like have staggers and trips that don't seem to last a very long time. And even if they were like comboed upon, they've stated that there will be diminishing returns. I do like the fact that low amounts of hard CC in the game is good. I think it's really good in the game. However, there's a lot of soft CC, and that can help in terms of like kiting and stuff like that. But in pure 1v1s, fighters are absolutely unmatched. They cannot be countered by literally anybody except for themselves. And when you look into small skirmishing, fighter will absolutely be inside of every single composition, and fighters and fights will be decided on based on who's the better fighter, or who can best defend their squishies from the fighter the best. One of the two. Either the fighter is going to be better, or you have better support characters that will keep your damage characters alive longer from the fighter, which I think is kind of skill in itself. However, it makes unfun gameplay. I don't think that is very good. I don't think there's anything that you should change about the fighter. I just think you should buff other classes to have the ability to actually play their role. And right now they currently can't with how strong fighter is. And it's not necessarily a balance thing. It's a archetype concept thing. So it's not balancing these things and making it easier for these guys to play. it's literally a concept thing. If I can't do anything as a cleric besides just try to out heal the rampaging berserking fighter, it's not fun. It's not fun. If I'm playing a mage and the only thing I have is a blink and then the fighter gets on top of me and I'm dead, it's not fun. What is fun is playing a ranger versus a mage and me trying to slow the mage while they blink away, and whoever does the most damage or dodges the most things wins. That's kind of cool. If I can't land any of my abilities, the one thing I am noticing with ranger is a lot of the stuff is basic attack oriented, and I like that a lot, considering you're shooting arrows. You're not really using abilities. If I'm going to suggest anything, is keep the keep the basic attack mentality with this, and using abilities as a more utility based and less about vines and traps. I know rangers are classic trappers and stuff like that, but I'm not really. Traps are so weird to use because in PvE they're pretty much useless. In PvP they're easy to dodge. It's just like, cool, yeah, you can trap. If you place a really well placed trap, it can be beneficial, but it's not ever a really solid option. It's too long of an animation to. It's just a way to like help you kite enemies, and if you have good enough abilities like weighted arrows and concussive arrows, like you are using, you have good enough utility there that you don't really need traps. I think traps sure are good thematically, but not in gameplay. Call of the Wind is extremely useful and really, really well. There was a 2-second CD on the ability when we were watching the Ranger showcase. That is way too low. That is way OP. If you keep this in the game at 2-second cooldown, yeah, sure, maybe you can fight fighters. Maybe. Right? I also don't like the whole Rangers are nature oriented with vines and roots and stuff like that. Rangers are just guys with bows. They're basically fighters with bows. And I feel like if you're going to create a ranger, you should create them more in the design of a fighter, but at range. And if you give them the same amount of gap closes, or just one less that you would rather use defensively instead of offensively, like saying airstrike offensively is good. Disengage defensively, also good. You need one more defensive mobility option that will, outside of the cleanse, that will be able to conceptually take on a fighter. Because all three of these things are offensive, right? Offense, offense, offense. You are trying to disengage, disengage, disengage. You are trying to engage, engage, engage. Mage, you want something like, all this is just pure damage. If you want to make it a mage and artillery focused archetype, sure. But they better be doing a shit ton of damage. These guys better be OP in the damage department, because these guys are not surviving a fight otherwise. Tanks, there were a lot of abilities that kept them alive, do damage mitigation, all that stuff. If their abilities are somehow so OP that a fighter cannot berserk through that, or be at least on an equal playing field, sure, that's fine. I mean, tank is the only archetype in the game that is actually tanking. That is actually giving you like armor and damage mitigation and possibly even magic mitigation. So if you make the defensive abilities of tanks absolutely overpowered, sure, they can be immobile. However, I do think Battle Rush will make the players feel way better about their class if you just give them this form of mobility. I don't think the shield assault is enough. I did like the grapple where you could pull enemies closer towards you. I think having some sort of like skill shot hook ability is actually really important for tanks to have. And I think that'd be really cool to give them something that you can't just target, like point and click on a target and send a hook out and CC them. I think skill shots around literally almost anything, like skill shots like line projectiles are going to be insanely fun to use, especially if you do it with like the tanks. Yeah, mages, you gotta overpower them. Clerics, they're the only class with like real healing. It seems like they were alluding to bards having a lot of mana, like being able to give their allies mana while clerics give their allies health. Sure, if you want to do that, that's fine. It really makes that the 8v8 composition is going to need all of these classes and all these archetypes together. And they're really cementing that home. If you want to have a mage be immobile, artillery, DPS, sure, go for it. They better be able to one-shot. That's all I'm saying. These guys, also very immobile, only dashing towards allies, have 22 healing abilities, though. So I don't think you need that many healing abilities. I think you should only have certain healing things for certain situations. You have that long channel that like does well when they're low HP. You have fast heals like flash heals. You have like all these different things to, but like I don't think they have anything that really helps them facilitate themselves in combat. Like they are very party composition oriented along with mages and tanks. Like these three are probably the most party composition oriented, while Ranger and Fighter seem to be a little bit more self-sufficient. However, I think Ranger is never coming out on top versus this. This guy is just OP as fuck. Bards also will be entirely party composition related. Rogues probably a little bit more self-sufficient. So if you're wondering why players choose the classes that they choose, a lot of the time it's because of how efficient they can be with the agency that they have when it comes to classes in general. So I think that if you take Bard, Cleric, Mage, and Tanks, and you only make them have agency in a party composition, I think you are absolutely killing your class choice when it comes to player choice. Because you're not going to find 8v8 parties all the time. And although that's the goal, I don't think that is necessarily the reality that we face. I think they definitely need to have more agency if you want them to be real and exist in the game properly. We're also missing out on information about secondary archetypes and augments with this information, so take that with a grain of salt. But I don't want anything to be changed about Fighter, but they are insanely OP in the current conceptual concept of the game, and definitely needs to be looked at. Outside of that, I think I was mentioning earlier about HP values and mana values, and honestly, I think it can be cleaned up. It's way too difficult to there's so many unnecessary numbers. Let's just put it that way. Like an enemy having 7,000 HP at level 15 feels weird to me. Like I think you can just bring those numbers like by a multiplier of like 100. So this 1,065 HP fighter could probably be like 160 or like 105 HP, and then you can like lower the numbers. If you really want big numbers, like sure you can. I guess it's because you want a bunch of players all in a single place, and if they have too little HP, it's not gonna be good enough. And if people are hitting for like 3s and 4s, it doesn't look satisfying. Sure, I'll accept that. But having like random 486 mana, I think you should just round it out. Like the unrounded numbers just feels weird, feels off. Just round it off. You have like 30 mana costs, 25 mana costs. Why do we have 486 total mana? Doesn't make sense. Like, just round it off if you're gonna do that. I don't think there was much else left from this that I can really think of. Everything looks great.
Oh, that's cool. I love that effect. That effect looks great.
Oh, the rallying cry was awesome too.
Show the effect one more time while I'm not kind of moving around and doing stuff.
The extra damage nodes.
As for weapon trees, I think everything looked good. I didn't math the math, but I eventually probably will. The procs are really cool. Perfect timing seems OP. Maybe not OP, but if you can do weapon combos for the fighter archetype that will give perfect timings in the name of itself. If you can give weapon combos the ability to do perfect combo rotations along with weaving in weapon combos, I think that's great. As long as you can perfectly do that. If anything feels off or clunky, you are absolutely going to hear about it. If you, we haven't talked about like gear on like cooldowns or anything like that, or like cooldown modifiers. If there's gear that's giving cooldown modifiers, you have to be very, very careful with this. And think about that, because if you lower the cooldowns on your abilities too much, maybe you're just infinitely gaining momentum and infinitely gaining damage and infinitely stacking, and things can get really messy there. Yeah, that I guess that's my main points.
Constant
I was
struggle
talking about
right now, but that is-
mobs in the world and their
that is
density.
specifically a stat.
I think one thing I noticed when I was watching this is there didn't seem to be everything looks great, but there didn't seem to be a rhyme or a reason to the stronghold, or maybe I just didn't look at it deep enough.
Thanks to ancient magics with
But the density seemed fine when it came to like fighting the mobs, but the placement of the mobs felt weird. Maybe you were just spreading out the mobs because you don't want people like going all the way around and finding their way through, which is totally understandable. We don't want that, right? But yeah, maybe I just need better layout of the land before I really make a comment on that, because that seems pretty inconsequential. They have like these random camps outside of these squares, these stairs. It seems fine. The destructible tents are awesome. I don't know if they're of the respawn timers on those. So as long as they look fine, when they respawn. I guess that's the only thing I would like to look at is like, do they just grow up from the ground? Do they just randomly spawn? I guess how things enter the world as a respawn timer can change somebody's perspective of the game. Let's see if there's anything else. Cleave and Overpower looked like the exact same ability. Oh, mob AI, either their aggro tables are off or Steven had on God mode at some point where he was just never taking damage. He might have accidentally put on God mode so that he wouldn't die. But like here, he's got damage taken. But I think from like this point onward, he like never loses HP. And I don't know if that's the fighter class being broken along with the cleric, but the cleric was mostly focused on healing the tank. And Steven was taking 0 damage despite, even in some situations, doing a ton of damage. So that was pretty interesting. But yeah. Hold on. Okay, Keenan is the cleric and he's got 697 HP, which seems good. He's building up his little, I do like the cleric's little extra bar. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it wasn't grit. Tanks have grit. Clerics have their own thing. Fighters have momentum. And Rangers have just mana? Or is it stamina? If they have stamina and they can sprint while other classes can't sprint, then I will forgive any sort of misgivings where I say that Rangers can't fight fighters, because if Rangers have the ability to sprint while no other classes have the ability to sprint, then like Rangers and Rogues, if they use stamina and they use the stamina to sprint and use some of their abilities, maybe you can use that as a resource management that also gives them enough mobility around some of these encounters. Definitely the cleanse on the Ranger, if they go up against a tank, they are most likely going to be able to escape the tank, which is perfect balance in character concept itself. So I don't think there's anything to worry about that. Yeah, I don't know, man. The game is looking amazing. I just think when it comes to combat and PvP especially, that there just needs a little bit of tuning to character abilities and obviously the balance, which is not here yet. So overall, I love it. Definitely going to play the shit out of Alpha 2. I'm really, really excited. Glad everything is happening in development and that the devs have stated that they can take the heat. So I'm gonna give a little bit of the heat. I've been giving a lot of the benefit of the doubt in the past, simply because everything is in development and I knew nothing was like really, really solid or anything like that. But the game is looking like it's coming together, and as it's taking shape, I am starting to notice things that could be problematic. And yeah, so I'll start speaking up a little bit more as we come across these things that we can actually change and things that we can fine tune and balance. And I think that's where most of my commentary is going to be towards. In the near coming future, I plan on doing like any type of patch notes, rundowns, or anything like that. So that's where my main focus is. I'm very pro player / competitive environment focused in my mind and how I view things. And I think that's kind of where I'll start navigating my content is through a completely competitive mindset. And when it comes to PvE and stuff like that, I will definitely have my opinions, but mostly it's around class archetypes and the balance changes and stuff like that. I do still plan on sending out my MMO esports video. I haven't got around to it. I was deathly sick last week. I've been working a lot, so that is still coming. But yeah, I think this has been a good stream. I'm gonna sign off for the night, and hope you all have a good day.